Okay, I'm ready.
Good evening. We want to welcome you to the Heartland facility. We look forward to having you here. I have been asked to start with prayer, and I was telling them in the back when I was thinking about some things going on here in the community and some of the things happening. I thought of King Jehoshaphat in the Old Testament getting ready to fight a big battle, and he had to look up to the Lord and say, I don't know what to do, Lord, our eyes are on you. So that's what we're going to do right now. Join me in prayer, will you please? Father, we thank you for so many parents that are concerned about what's going on in their school system, in their district. We thank you, Father, for their concern, for their desire to see their children and young ones raised properly. And we just ask that tonight, as they have opportunity to share what's on their mind, what's on their heart, that we will continue to think that we're going to talk through this as adults. We're going to talk through this with passion, with feeling, with emotion, but that we're going to keep our eyes on you, and we know that you're going to help direct us through this thing to get the best, most absolute end to this situation. So we bless you. We thank you. As much as we love our children, our young people, we know you love them more. In Jesus' name, amen.
I think my boss is there. I do not like public speaking. I do great on the radio. I'm Stacy Shore, and I'm super grateful for every person that's shown up tonight. I know that you're here, and we all have different stories and experiences, or you wouldn't be here. We have things that we feel strongly about. I've talked about some things for a while, so I just felt really led. There's about 2 things I'm going to start with tonight. But the first is I'm a mom of 3. I know almost everybody here, so I know you know. I have opinions about a lot of things. I know, yeah. I have a political science degree and a degree in public administration. I never thought I would probably use those degrees until I started getting involved in activism. What started me in activism was my kids, and it started with school. Because I didn't know what I didn't know when I was a young mom, and I never asked questions, and I just trusted. I had no idea what was really going on. But I learned to be more of a question asker. And so I'm going to start, this is where I'm going to start, because this is part of the mask thing for me. And I know a lot of us here are here about the mask, but I'm going to talk about 2 things myself. And then I'm going to pass the mic to someone else to talk about the third. The first 2 are the education part of what's going on with data collection. I know there's a lot of you here that have children, and you've heard that a lot of us are, there's my sister, hi Steph. That a lot of us are not using technology, the school-owned technology, and I'm going to go through a PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you why, because a lot of you are told, well, it's ridiculous, they're conspiracy theorists. Well, in fact, I'm not. Actually, I'm an activist and have been at the state level. Susie knows. There's our state rep, Susie Pollock, so please give her a hand for being here. But what happened was I started seeing Common Core before I knew it had a name in our school. And so my story started when I had a 3rd grade son that in 1st grade I was told he couldn't read. And he was 1st grade, so I didn't know he was supposed to be able to read in 1st grade, but that's fine. So what I did was I got very aggressive, and I went and got hooked on phonics, and I got magnet boards, and I learned to do cat, hat. That's what I did. And so he started making huge progress. And I was super proud because the teacher called in 2 weeks and said, could you come in? I need to talk to you. And she's super nice. And I said, okay, because I'm that mom. And so I went in and we sat down, and she said, are you helping him at home? And I was like, yes, I am. Yes. He's getting out of this reading class because I'm helping him. It's just, okay, you need to stop, because you are only confusing him. I was like, oh. And I did. I went home, I told you, remember? I wasn't a teacher, and I didn't pretend to be. Like so many people in my family, my husband's a teacher. So it's kind of out of my lane. So I stopped trying to teach him. And so I didn't teach him in 1st grade, didn't teach him in 2nd grade, so he enters 3rd grade, and he still can't read any better than he could read in 1st grade. And so, but what happened, and a lot of you will remember, I went to football games. That's how I met John Beckett. And I would go, and I would sit, and I'd say, is anybody, because he started bringing home this math, right? And this math, he would bring home word problems, and they would have numbers in them, and we would pull out the numbers, and we would work the numbers, like 12 plus 28, carry the 1, right to left, send it back to school, and every single problem would be counted, would be right, I knew, but every single problem would be counted wrong. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, all right, yeah, oh yeah. Now, I'm an old mom now, because he's 20. All right, so I've been around the block. That's why. But, so what happened was, I called the teacher, whom I loved, and I said, I just have a quick question. Something's not right with the math, because I know he did everything right, but he got every problem wrong, so help me out here. Oh, yeah. Well, it's not about the answer anymore, the right answer. It's about the process. They have to do the process right. So I was like, okay. But then I kind of started getting a little bit mad, because he would come home and he would say, don't help me, don't help me, don't help me. You don't know what you're doing. You don't help my mom. You don't have any idea. It's new. It's better. We're doing math a different way. You're old-fashioned. Do you guys know? You know, right? So it becomes this thing about absolutes in life, right? 2 plus 2 really does equal 4. But when somebody says 2 plus 2 isn't 4, if everyone agrees. I said, it's the mask thing right now, because again, it's kind of the same thing. That this is, I'm getting off on a rabbit path. But the whole thing for me is this. When you can tell a child that, at the Lake of the Ozarks, we set the bar. We actually had our businesses open. We chose not to wear masks. We chose to live free and unafraid. We've been respectful. If you want to wear a mask, there's no judgment. But we are thriving here. We are the bright, shining city on a hill. But when our kids go into school now, they've decided, your parents are wrong. They told you wrong. You're disrespectful. You got to get that mask on. You got to do what you're supposed to do. You got to do what St. Louis and Kansas City are doing, because they're doing it right. Their numbers don't show that. And I'll go into that in a second. But it really goes back to the math for me, because when my kid can walk through that threshold and absolutes aren't absolutes anymore, we kind of have a problem. So that's how my journey started. I got very active, and what happened with my son is that I started to catch on to the reading. And so what I did was I pulled him out of his reading class. And they were like, oh, you got to sign this paper. If you pull him out, you got to sign the paper. I said, give me the paper. And so I signed it against their advice, and what happened? I put him with a tutor. It was a little lady whom I still love and adore, who could teach him at night what she wasn't allowed to teach him in the day. And I know there's people watching right now, but my son, who could not read, in 4 weeks could read at grade level. Do you know what they taught him? They taught him phonics. They taught him. They pulled him out of the box. My son graduated in the top 10% of his class because I took him out of the box. So I'm really proud of that story. So when I say I'm an older mom, this ain't my first rodeo. So what happened was I got really involved because it struck a nerve with me. And so I started traveling the state with Concerned Women for America out of my pocket, didn't get paid because I felt like the message was that important. I felt like the kids' Common Core was coming. And I had to explain to people what it was so they knew what it looked like, because we were about to do a grave travesty to our children, and we have. So I helped pass with some of these moms right here on the front row, House Bill 1490. It was called the Kill Common Core Bill, and guess what we did? In the state of Missouri, we passed that bill, and the governor signed it. I actually sat on a committee to help rewrite the standards for the state of Missouri in English language arts for grades 6 through 12. I was appointed by the Senate Pro Tem, as was Laura. You were science. We were appointed because we understand what's going on. So I just have to start with that. I'm not a novice. So with that, I just wanted to go into, for all of you here that have children and want to know why we're saying no to technology, I want you to, and if you guys can remember, and some of you may want to take notes, because I'm going to tell you this every time. Don't take my word for anything. Go home and do your research. I'm going to give you just little bits, but you guys got to go home and do your own research. The first thing we're going to talk about is the technology use agreement and why I won't sign it. So, hey, 1 second. I got to figure this out real quick. I'm not great with technology. That's not why we don't sign it, but I'm not great with it. I just want to start here. Our school has issues. And for us to fix issues, we got to be really honest about issues. And unfortunately for some, I know how to work the DESE website. It's very confusing, but all of this information is pulled directly from. This information, I learned how to pull this from a CFO of another school district. So when you look at the debt of our district, we take in $55 million a year in our school district, right? But these are, oh, darn it. Whoopsie. Chris? Oh, you guys, I told you. Chris is working. Thank you, Chris. I'm trying to work the pointer, but then the clicker and all that, so there. So what I want you to look at, these are all 4A schools. This is Bolivar, okay? They have a debt of $16 million. This is Waynesville, similar size schools as we are, $13 million. Marshfield, all of these are 4A schools, $17 million. Rolla, $20 million. Lebanon, $39 million. Webb City, $28 million. Sedalia, $20 million. Warrensburg, $34 million. But here we are, $86 million in debt. So you're wondering, and all of this information you can look up at DESE yourself. It's public information. But the question is, we're cutting a ton of programs, and they're saying, no, we're not cutting. Yes, we are. Are any of your kids touched by programs that are being cut? Mine has been. It's going to be more and more noticeable because, like, with you people with young kids, you're not going to notice as much because you don't know what we've had. I notice because I've got kids that are in their 20s, and I have a younger kid. So I notice. But these are one of the conversations that as a district and while you're here, we need to start having. These are scores. They matter. I'm going to talk really quick about this. This is, with these scores, again, straight from the DESE website, comparing apples to apples. This Camdenton is yellow. These are math scores. This is a percent of proficient and advanced students. Eldon, School of the Osage in 2017. Webb City, this is Camdenton. English language arts. And I also put how much each district spends on their students. Eldon, $9,200 a year. This is Eldon. School of the Osage, $10,000. Webb City, $8,200. Camdenton, $11,125. We have issues. Sometimes maybe more money is not a good thing because we're failing our children. Data privacy, what does it mean? You all know this. You gotta check that box, right? You gotta check the box. Tell your mom to sign that technology use agreement or you can't do school, right? If you don't sign the box, you can't have your Chromebook, and if you don't have your Chromebook, you don't get an education. I'm gonna tell you something right now. The Missouri Constitution does not say that your child is entitled to a free education only if they have a Chromebook. Our Constitution doesn't say that. So check the box. Here's the deal. Chromebooks. So I'm going to touch on things. I'm going to go through it pretty fast. But Chromebooks, all of your Chromebooks are front-loaded with apps. These are some of the apps that are front-loaded on every single Chromebook, right? Every app has a privacy statement, and they tell you what they're going to do with the data they're collecting. So every keystroke, facial recognition, voice, GPS, they have the ability to collect. So they're telling you, if you printed out your technology use agreement, you would be printing out, when you would do every app builder's privacy notice, over 200 pages. Have any of you read it? No, because you're told just to check the box. Some of these things, teacher consent in lieu of a parent. This comes from the Camden Technology Agreement. It says, for school-based activities, teachers and school administrators may, where allowed by applicable law, act in the place of parents or guardians to provide consent for the collection of, here's the key word, personal data from children. Well, what does that mean? Well, wouldn't we all really like to know? I'll go into that a little bit more in a second. This is your student device handbook. Here's the big deal. How many of you have children under 13 in this room? Yeah. There's something called COPA. And here's your law. You have a federal law to protect your children from ed tech and what ed tech is collecting on your children. The law is called the Child Online Privacy and Protection Act, and it says this. This is actually in your technology use agreement. It says COPA applies to commercial companies and limits their ability to collect personal information from children under 13. These programs must provide parental notification and obtain parental consent before collecting personal information from children under 13. The law permits the district to consent to the collection of personal information on behalf of all its students, thereby eliminating the need for individual parental consent given directly to third-party operators. The technology user consent form allows the district to act as an agent for parents in the collection of personal information within the school. Personal information can mean their name, where they live, what classes they're taking. Like I said, there's cameras on their Chromebooks. You don't know what's being collected, but you waive that right. They're going to tell you, well, there's FERPA. Here's the deal. FERPA doesn't protect your kids. It's been gutted. Every single person that wants the data from your child, and that's every keystroke. I had one of my nieces talk about yesterday, a survey popped up before she could go in and do her work. What are the surveys asking? Do any of us know? Do any of you know? No, we don't know. They're asking invasive questions with that information going to a third party, and it's becoming very concerning. User privacy, I'm going to skip through some of these things, but here's Google. Google. Right, if you guys can remember this, write this down. There's a movie, and it's a documentary called The Creepy Line. It's free on Amazon, so if you can remember it, please watch it. It's called The Creepy Line, and it's where we are with Google. Google, just keep in mind, they helped China, the government of China, actually establish a social credit scoring system. You guys know about that? Yeah. Right? Google is in charge of American education like in 3 years. It's turned us on its ear. Do you know how all the teachers are talking about, well, we're getting ready to go probably online, everything's going virtual. You know who's going to be doing really the most of the schooling? All of the intellectual property, everything your child owns in their brain, actually Google's going to own, because this is where it's headed. But they tell you this, information we share. It says information we share with user consent, that's your check of the box. We will share personal information with companies, organizations, or individuals outside of Google when we have user consent or parents' consent. When you check the box, you've just given the consent. What are they doing with it? Well, we don't know. You ask the technology department. I'm going to touch on this really quick. I don't have time to go into it fully. For those of you who are interested, I have a very good friend from Springfield. Her name is Brooke Henderson. You can look up the story. It's happening to all of us. It's happened to me. On your school-issued hard drive, when your child is using a Chromebook, they are collecting your data, my data. So my usernames, my email address, my password, my username, it's on the camdentonschools.org hard drive. Bank accounts, logins to Facebook, your password, we've seen it, haven't we? What? It's when they hook to the Wi-Fi. When you start to understand what's happening, you're going to start to wake up, and it may be too late. The data that's being collected, we don't know where it's going. They will share. Share means sell. Do you know what it means to monetize your children? Do you know what that means? It means they're selling every keystroke like the little slaves. Every time your little kid opens his Chromebook, and they're getting on those apps, somebody's collecting the data. What is it? We really don't know. But here's if I can leave you with this thought on this. This is an FBI warning that came out in September of last year. It's serious. And the FBI warning, you guys can look it up. This is straight from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It says the FBI is encouraging public awareness of cyber threats concerning and related to K through 12 students. The U.S. school system's rapid growth of ed tech and widespread collection of student data, we just saw that, could have privacy and safety implications if compromised or exploited. Ed tech can provide services for adaptive, personalized learning experiences and unique opportunities. So it's saying it's not bad, but it can actually, here's what it's just saying to you. It can collect PII, personally identifiable information, biometric, that's your face, that's your voice, behavioral, disciplinary, medical information, web browsing history, students' geolocations. The geolocation is on their Chromebook. How many of you know that when your kid's at home doing homework, your teacher can shadow? They can turn their Chromebooks on and see exactly what they're doing at 8 o'clock at night. Did you guys know that? No? Right? They have that ability. It's not okay with me. They may be okay with some, but it's really not for me. This is, oh, darn it. I don't know how to, maybe, okay, yeah, here, right here. On the second page of this, it says, the widespread collection of sensitive information by EdTech could present unique exploitation opportunities for criminals. For example, in late 2017, cyber actors exploited school information systems by hacking into multiple school district servers across the United States. They access student contact information, education plans, homework assignments, medical records, council report, it goes on and on. In Joplin, Missouri, about 4 years ago, look it up. You remember, Laura? You remember, Mindy? The IT guy in the Joplin School District, he's in prison now. You know why? He was turning on girls' cameras on their devices at home, and he was photographing and videoing them. When they were getting out of the shower without their clothes, the school district never notified the parents of who those girls were, but he's in prison now. We remember that, right? It was a personnel issue. I'm trying not to be a smart aleck tonight. It's super hard for me. I really am. Trying because I'm in church. This is my church. Pastor Jerry, I'm trying. This is just how Google, if you guys do your homework, social emotional learning. Does anybody know what that is? Real quick. I'm going to go through this quick. It's the new buzzword. Have you heard it, Susie? Social emotional learning. It's the new big deal in education. It's not about, it's what's happening, and I'm just going to tell you super quick. Look it up. Do your research. They're measuring your children's emotional aptitude. So when little Johnny's taking a test online, you think he's just doing ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Not so. They're measuring algorithms of their social and emotional outputs. If little Johnny shows that he's having emotional deficits, guess what happens? He's going to get sent to the nurse. Guess where we're headed in the nurse's office? Telemed. We're going to telemedicine. So there's some psychiatrist in Oregon. She's so convenient. She's always just right there. And so she just pops up on a screen, and there she is, and she writes him a prescription, charges your Medicaid, Medicare, or insurance. You'll get a bill for it, and writes you a script. What happens when you say, oh, no, Johnny doesn't need that. Oh, yes, he does. That psychiatrist said he does, and his social emotional aptitude is bad.
Don't they always also like watch on the cameras how like if your child strains or if they get
Right.
upset during a test or they
That was the Grit, Tenacity, Perseverance study that came out. They're monitoring and measuring constantly from their cameras. I mean, we could go so far in the weeds. We really could, but there's so much legitimacy. But you need to understand, when I say I'm not signing it, what are you going to do for my kid? This is part of the reason why. The social emotional learning, you guys do some research. Again, China, and I think this is where we're headed. Google's taking all the data. They're monetizing the data. They're monetizing the keystroke, but they're measuring social outputs. Is it coincidence to anybody else that they just set the social credit scoring system up in China? And they're going to have every kid in school's social emotional aptitude score because we're working in Canvas and Google Classrooms, and we're told that our kids cannot get an education, a free education, unless they're willing to go to Canvas. Well, there's another way. We can do better, and we have to do better. I'm skipping it. You guys can do, if you guys don't know Missouri Education Watchdog, these people are my really good friends. You need to read their stuff because a lot of what I'm telling you tonight is found on this blog, and it goes back, for years, but it's super current and relevant. It's the American Institute for Research. Mom and Dad, how would you answer the questions in this trauma-informed survey? Camdenton is a trauma-informed school. It says, what would you think of adding trauma-informed pilots and surveys in K-12? Schools already give give students a number of very personal surveys, including questions about drug use, sexual activity, home life, and behavioral risk. Have any of your kids ever told you what surveys look like? Give me an example. Do you know an example?
yes.
Yeah.
One of my kiddos was in 4th grade, and I've been doing this a long time along with Stacy, and so my kids are super informed because they've gone with me and seen me and Stacy present about this. So my daughter was in 4th grade. She's now a freshman, and she was doing iReady in a little. Oh, my name's Mindy Sales, by the way, just in case anybody needs to know. A little. Oh, you want me to use that? Do I need that? Oh, that's me. Okay. All right. There we go. Sorry, Stace. I'll talk quick.
Totally fine.
So anyway, again, my name's Mindy Sales, and my daughter was in 4th grade, and she had done an iReady test, and she came home from school, and she said, Mom, she said, there were some questions on my iReady test beforehand. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, I was asked if my mom and dad, something along the lines of, do my mom and dad fight at night? Do I feel safe in my home? Mm-hmm. And she said, I knew not to answer those questions. And she said, I didn't answer them. And so I said, I'm so proud of you, I'm raising this smart kid. But I was PO'd about it because I'm thinking, why are they asking my kid these questions? This is none of their business. And so I called the counselor at school and I said, hey, my daughter said she, got these questions. And she said, yeah. And I said, I want to know, what are you doing with the information? And she said, I just print it off and then I put it in her file. And I said, no, like when you hit send, where does that information go? And she said, I have no idea.
And they don't.
And so she couldn't tell me. So those are questions that my kid was asked, and only because she was, on the ball, because she sat through a lot of our presentations did she know. Mm-hmm. But your kids are asked those questions. They're asked those questions on your tests. So
they're social, emotional, especially for the young ones. They're measuring it. What does it mean? Here's the thing. A lot of people, what they're saying is the repository of data is being sold. They're being monetized. So someday when they go for a job or they want to get into the military when they're 23, and they've taken these surveys for a lifetime of their school years, and they've taken survey after survey, and there is literally, it's like the Matrix, right? A little screen pops up, and he's crazy because he's a Christian, he's whatever. But that's really where we're at. We're there. We're totally there. So you just have to be aware that this is part of the reason we don't sign telemedicine. It's been brought up by our district already this year. Question, who is it's not the government's job to make sure. I'm going to move on to math. I had a lady tell me the other night, she thanked me for telling this story. I'm going to tell it real quick. My son was a freshman last year. I know a lot about math because I learned a lot over the last 12 years. But he came home real quick. He came home and he just said after the first week of his freshman year, he goes, Mom, something is weird with the math. I was like, oh, no. Because I already knew. It's not my first rodeo, so it's like, great. What's wrong with the math? And I said, oh, it's probably just an icebreaker. Let's just go with it. Comes home the second week. He said, Mom, they're setting me in groups of 4. They're handing me a packet, and they're telling me just to figure it out. He said, I went up to my teacher and I literally just said, look, I need help. I don't understand. Can you help me? And the teacher looked so sad, he said, and she just said, I'm sorry. I can't help you. You have to figure it out. Okay, so here's the thing that makes me angry. Those kids that came in as freshmen, when you go to DESE, which I know how to run, the DESE website, and it shows you that they came in, 47% of those kids came into their freshman year at below basic in their math skills. That's bad. And you're going to take those same kids and you're going to take them into a room, break them into groups of 4, hand them a packet and say, teach yourself algebra. By the end of the first semester of their freshman year, and if you have freshmen in this class, you need to go home and ask them, over 100 kids were shoved into a study hall. Yes. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Nobody told parents what they had done to their kids. You have kids who are they want to play football or basketball or band and or music, and these grades they're getting are not their fault. They are affecting their livelihoods. You've got kids who think they want to be nurses and doctors and engineers. So you've got people doing really experimental things with their education, and nobody's holding them accountable. You guys, this is serious stuff. But we don't know it, so what we tend to do is just write it off like, well, I wasn't good at math, so, my kid's not going to be good at math because I was terrible. That's not what this is. So over 100 kids, so just know this, if you had freshmen, because I have a sophomore, yep, right? Yep. So the thing is, what happened, all those kids went in, they were going to remediate them second semester. They're going to teach them. So they go into their second semester, because these kids know nothing, and it's not their fault. And so they're trying to remediate them. COVID. Do you know where all those kids are now? Geometry. Magically, they just got it. So awesome. COVID. So I just want people to know, I had a lady just say to me, my kid came home every night and said, Mom, my teacher won't teach me. And she's like, you stop lying. And he's like, Mom, I'm telling the truth. She's like, you stop that. That is not true. And he's like, Mom. So when she read a post I made on Facebook and took the computer into the room and sat and read it to him, he said, Mom, I tried to tell you. So I'm here to tell you. It's not your kid's fault. It's not your kid's fault. This is EMITS. Right now what we're doing, we got our hands on the grant. That's bad for somebody, because remember, I'm a political science major, and I didn't know what to do with my degree until I learned how to read grants. So it's not that fun, but I love it. Jeff will come in, and I'll be reading something at 11 o'clock at night. He's like, what are you reading? I'm like, nothing. He's like, what are you reading? I'm like, just a grant, just a 300-page grant. My friends know. I was like, nothing. He's like, why? I said, I love it. Like Laura knows, it's like Christmas. I got the grants. But just so you know this, EMITS. Let's clarify some things, because there's a lot of talking vomit of educators, and I love educators. I'm married to one right there. Okay, but there's lots of educrat vomit, and they'll be like, well, EMITS, the pedagogy of EMITS is. It's like, oh my goodness, don't even. Here's the deal. I'm going to break it down for you in plain language. EMITS, okay, is a grant. It's a funnel by which we get money. But in exchange for that money, we have to choose a curriculum that aligns with the way we study our teachers and the way they teach. So we have to bring in garbage curriculum so we can teach our kids garbage and evaluate teachers. But here's the deal. It's illegal to make a child, or an adult for that matter, federal law says you really can't do this. You can't make a child a human subject because somebody is researching them, but they don't know it. That's illegal. But you remember that box you checked? Because you had to check that box. Because if you don't check the box, you don't get the Chromebook. And if you don't get the Chromebook, you don't get an education, because nobody knows how to teach anymore, apparently, if you don't have a Chromebook. That's part of this. Your child has just become a human subject in a research project that you know nothing about. And it's really not about math. But anyway, just know this. What are they collecting? What data? Well, this is super interesting. You're supposed to have teacher and parent consent forms. They're doing administrator surveys, teacher surveys. Your student has a unique student ID that they're collecting. The unique student ID, it says a unique identifying number is also a social security number. Our superintendent signed it. It just talks about they're being researched for data collection purposes. Teachers actually have the ability to be whistleblowers. If teachers are watching this, and I hope you are right now, if you feel uncomfortable with this grant and the conditions of the grant, you have federal protections to be a whistleblower, and that's part of this grant right here. The data will assure the study procedures are consistent with district's policies on research and assist AIR. If you're taking notes, write it down, the American Institute for Research. It's not good. It's a for-profit entity that sells data. What data? We're not really sure. Yeah, every keystroke. It's not just math, because they really don't do much math anymore, to be super honest. It requires parent consent forms. I didn't consent. They do student surveys. They take student names. Remember this? The FBI warned us about this, but we're doing it anyway. The widespread collection of sensitive information by ed tech could present unique exploitation opportunities for criminals. But we can't get an education on a Chromebook. Okay. This is my favorite. And I know that's why a lot of you are here tonight. Oh, actually, you're probably here about something else, but that's not my subject tonight. That's Mindy's. Yes.
I wanted to read it.
Here,
even
get
though I got
that.
Okay. So I just want it not on this topic, the last one.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Gail Griswold. Thank you for providing this forum. So I sent an email to this middle school principal, and I said, I get kind of nervous. I actually get nervous. I don't know what you're talking about. Fine up there. And to Mr. Matthew Stacy is his name. I said, I do not approve of my son to be in any EMITS program, not for math, science, ELA, etc. What alternatives do you have in order to still provide curriculum for my son outside of EMITS? Please see attached concerns. And I sent a lot of these type of screenshots to him, especially the one with his name signed to it to be the point of contact. Sorry, I was just really upset about this. And then this is his response. Hi, Mrs. Griswold. Thank you for reaching out. EMITS is a professional development for teachers led by teachers. Much of the focus of EMITS is to provide a greater toolbox for instruction, new instructional strategies, and a focus on say that word.
Pedagogy.
Pedagogy. I guess that's
It's a big one.
big word they use. EMITS is not a curriculum. Our curriculum consists of the Missouri Learning Standards, which I have come to learn that is just another name for Common Core. All of our core teachers use elements of EMITS in their instruction. Many of our teachers have been using a great deal of these instructional strategies prior to EMITS even working with CMS. As for EMITS involvement in research, they use extent data. This is public data that can be found on DESE's website. As for surveys, parents have the right to refuse any survey issued from EMITS. Permission forms would be sent to parents prior to any student taking a survey. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen that. And then the very end, this is what I was, if you're concerned with your instruction your son will be receiving, I can tell our teachers are great, blah, blah, blah. And then I just told him that my response, that I'll sum it up here a little bit better. I just said that his response wasn't acceptable and that I needed a better answer. And he said, I'm sorry, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but I'm a little confused. What other alternatives are you looking for? Are you wanting, my son, to complete worksheet packets? I'm sorry, I'm emphasizing, but I need some clarification on my end. Our students are expected to take all 4 core areas of learning in the middle school. I hope we can find a solution. And unfortunately, I'm unable to meet right now because I'm in quarantine, but you can contact Shayla Vale about EMITS. And I told him that I would definitely not be contacting her as she has not read the grant. And so there was no resolution, nothing for my child, pretty much at the end of the day. And I just wanted to
That's why we're frustrated.
Yeah.
Our kids aren't learning. Just know this also with who they're referring you to, there are stipends as part of the grant. So when you see somebody cheering it on, they're getting paid to do that, just so you know. That's part of the grant money. So they've got cheerleaders that are out there talking about how great this is. You just ask the question, are you getting paid to say that? Because they are. Then they'll and then you get blocked for asking that, Shelley. Go. Mass. So here's where I am, and I know this is super hot. Well, it was yesterday. And then there was the day after that. So like mask is so yesterday, right? Yeah, I know, I'm not funny. Yes.
Sorry, just to back up, like 2 steps.
Yes. Take care of Mike.
When I inquired about that math curriculum that's actually tied to EMIT
Yes.
and brought up the situation last year where all of the kids were struggling and not getting help, and I know this, I know this to be true because I was in the board meeting where I had high school students in tears sharing their experience, and they're begging to be taught. These children are begging for their teachers to be able to do their job.
Yes.
And they're not out destroying public property, and they're not out drinking and driving. They're at a board meeting.
Yeah.
This was really important to them. And when I inquired about that, what I was told was, and this was by a principal at Oak Ridge, that all of that was just a misunderstanding.
It always is.
There were 2 or 3 students that were struggling that they helped along, and all of that got blown out of proportion, and it was a misunderstanding. So I just wanted to share the personal feedback that I specifically got from him regarding this when I inquired about that curriculum as my son, would be approaching that soon.
And I just think it's really important to go on public record. We believe in teachers. We are here, almost every person in this room, begging for our teachers to be set free to teach. We don't want curriculum directors over their head or whatever they call them, curriculum coaches. We want them free to reach our children and stop putting them in the same box. Our teachers are more than qualified to teach. Why they are not being allowed to teach and handcuffed because of a grant for how much was the grant for? $300,000? Right, $300,000. Our teachers deserve better. And that's really what I think I'm asking for tonight. Let our teachers teach. Let them teach. Don't evaluate how they're not teaching in accordance with a grant. Let them teach. I want to give everyone a time to speak tonight, so I'm going to wrap up. Masks, I think we all have our own ideas. Well, I had to, because it's true. I'm sorry. Sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry. Masks. Here's the thing, and I'm going to say this for the record, and then I want everybody that wants to talk after Mindy has a little talk. But my feeling probably matches yours. My kids know we're super respectful. When we go into another person's environment and they have legitimate fears or health concerns, by all means, we wear a mask. I went to a funeral on Saturday. Everyone was masked. Of course, I'll wear a mask. But when my child steps out the door to go to a public school, and this is what he told me, and his teacher was laughing when she read the policy. Now, keep in mind, it's masks on the move, because when you're social distance, you don't have to wear a mask. Know this, our classrooms, because of that budget I just showed you, are so overly filled for Camdenton, there's no room for social distancing. So what does that mean? Technically, the masks need to be on all the time because nobody can be 6 feet apart at all times. So there's really no provision for not having masks. But when my son tells me that his teacher was laughing because she's like, okay, here's the rule. As long as you're sitting in your chair looking forward, you don't have to have your mask on. But if you turn your head to the left or the right, or you turn all the way around, you have to be masked. What? I said, are you punking me right now? Like, seriously, what? It's true. It's true. Is that true? Yes, true. Yes, you know. Okay, I'll just say that one more time because sometimes it takes me a second to grasp it. So if you sit in a seat and you look forward, you obviously are safe. You're not infecting, there's no potential to infect anybody. But if you move your head to the right, danger, left, danger, all the way around, mask. It's just what? The issue is, for what happened for me, as much as the protocol, when you have a 7 a.m. board meeting the second day of school, and what you did is you said the children who are going to be seated are going to be encouraged, not mandated, to wear a mask. You say that, so we choose to let our children go to school because they have the option to or not to. That's great. But you said you're going to encourage. But I sat and watched the video, and when the superintendent says, we got to do something, because those kids, we don't have nearly enough wearing masks, so we're going to have to do something. And he asked the board in that meeting to do something. And then lickety-split, they did something, all right. They forced a mask on every single one of our children because of what? Bad data? If one more person says something to me about the CDC, that is offensive to me. Because I am an educated American, all right? And I don't swallow that kind of garbage well. It's like, thank you. So my favorite saying is this, and I don't know if I should say this in church, but I hate it when people pee on my head and try to tell me that it's raining. And when they say, well, the CDC says, I'm like, are you even joking right now? Here's the deal. If you guys know what goes on at the CDC, and if you haven't been doing a little bit of research on them in the last couple of years, you need to start right now. Because the CDC has become incredibly controversial. A group of scientists who are very concerned about the current state of ethics at our agency, they've had this is in 2016. It's even worse now. They're called the spiders. Have you heard about them? They're the scientists within the CDC saying there's something fundamentally broken here. It's become a political agenda. We are not doing science anymore. So when they're telling us, well, the CDC recommends. The CDC is in Camden County, Missouri. Have you been to the Lake of the Ozarks? Because we said, yeah, no, we're not going to do masks. And we said, we're going to open our businesses. You know what? We're setting records in our businesses. Our businesses are open. We're working 7 days a week. Thank you, Jesus. We are working 7 days a week. Because we have chosen to be free in this community. We are so blessed. We are blessed beyond measure because we've chosen freedom. So like it goes back to the math, like I said. So we're going to go, so you're going to send your kids to school, and on the second day at 7 a.m., we got to do something. That word encourage, that didn't work. That's because we're free. We have broke the mold here. So you're going to punish our kids for us being free? What does the data say? Oh, WHO. The WHO guidelines. Healthy people should wear masks only when taking, this is the WHO. So if you've paid attention, the WHO and the CDC, they're constantly fighting with each other because one says no, one says yes. But today we're going to go with the CDC. It's just wrong. There are dangers to wearing masks on a daily basis, especially if worn for several hours. When a person is infected with a respiratory virus, they will expel some of the virus with each breath. If they are wearing a mask, especially in N95, tightly fitting, they will be constantly rebreathing the virus, raising the concentration of the virus in the lungs and nasal passages. These are studies done by scientists. In one such study, researchers surveyed 212 healthcare workers, 47 males, 165 headaches. We saw a teacher post, or a coach. She was forced to wear a mask all day for the first time in her life. She came home and had a bloody nose after being forced to wear a mask all day. This is about the health of our children. This is about junk science. And as a mom who fought Common Core for 10 years, I've seen it all. I have seen people who are supposed to be advocates in education lead our kids off a cliff. I've watched it. We've watched it. They don't care about data because if somebody says that it's real, it must be real. We're here tonight to come up with a solution. We want to give everyone a voice. If you have something to say, I hope our school board members are watching and listening. I know Troy Reisner was here, and I'm super grateful for that. His wife is still here, and I think we owe them a big thank you for coming. It's really brave. They want to hear from you. Thank you for coming. Thank them. Thank you. There's the lady of the hour, the only one, no vote, right over there. She's kind of hiding, but that's Callie Hinsey. But it's time that they listen to the people of this community because this is we had a meeting. Who was at my meeting 2 weeks ago? Yeah, we had 20 people maybe? Maybe. This is just the second meeting. The third's going to be even bigger. Yes.
I'd like to bring up one more thing.
Please.
I know we're talking about a lot of problems right now, and
Yeah.
I think that one thing we haven't talked about is the psychological aspect that is going to be affecting our kids, because they're having to witness this and they're having to see this, and I mean they're living in fear.
Yeah.
And we're just forcing this mentality on them, and they're innocent in all this,
Yes.
and they don't know what's going on. And I think that a lot of this is being overhyped, and I think that it's just putting a lot of pressure, a lot of strain on our children. And there's traumatic psychological effects that are being caused by this. Even last year, I mean, they weren't allowed to graduate and stuff. I mean, there's just there's so much being taken away from them. I for one, my boy can't even play flag football, and I want to get it going on my own. Privately, just off of the school in some field if I have to, in order to create some way for the kids to be able to still have sports or anything, and it's just that their whole world's been turned upside down, and it's just it's really not fair to them, and we have to think about what we're doing to their mentality and the way they view things more than just what the CDC is saying and stuff like that. There's a lot bigger aspects to what's going on. And I think we need to take all this into effect.
Thank you.
And I just kind of wanted to throw that aspect out there as well.
100%.
Thank you for everything.
And What I hope is that, like, for every parent here, for parents that are watching, I want parents to connect with you. There are parents that feel the same. That's what this meeting is for. It's to collaborate. There's a lot of people that are really like-minded, and there's power in numbers and education. If you want to be an educated parent, you can make an informed consent. Not just check the box. Your kid can't go to school if you can't check that box. I call for informed consent. You better put a disclosure about what I'm signing, because if not, I'm going to sue you. Don't sign anything and think you know what you're signing. If math isn't going well in a week, I'm doing something different. You have that right. Don't let anybody tell you you don't have rights as a parent, because you do. I'm going to scooch past this. You guys all know. I just want to read a couple of comments, though, that I found concerning from our board. These are the people that you've elected. Now, I don't know if you have, because I just don't know. But I want to read their comments because I think they're relevant. This was Courtney Hewlett, and I'm just going to read part of it. In my opinion, we have already surveyed the community, he says. We had 80% of people say they wanted to in-the-seat learning, so we need to do our best to provide that. Masks are the smartest way to go. You know, if parents feel like this is infringing on their personal rights, we have options for them to keep their kids at home. Why did you not tell us that before the first day of school? Right? So you tell us that the second day of school, but you didn't tell us that like in June, July, or the 1st of August? I don't know. I need to look into that.
Or with any kind of money for the school?
I haven't found that out yet, but I may be reading grants. I will. If it's out there, I will find it. Because I love that stuff. I'm going to go back real quick. Yes.
My son was in wrestling with, what's that? My son was, he's in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And Eric Waters is the coach. Now, he's a great guy. I like Eric. He's a good coach. I was talking to him about some things, and he said when he gets a policy, he doesn't look at the rights of the students, the rights of the parents, the rights of the teachers. He looks at liability to the district. And that's what I'm hearing right here with Hewlett.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're the taxpayers. We're the parents.
Yeah.
The students and the teachers have to come first. And you don't trample on our rights because of a policy or liability. Right. If we had good management, liability wouldn't be an issue. But we have horrible management at this school.
He ends up, yeah. He would say, this is where it gets really good, because masks today, goggles tomorrow. I would even take it a step further, honestly. When you talk about exposure level in the hospital, they are mandating that we all wear goggles or some sort of eye protection. I would recommend putting our teachers in some sort of eye protection so we can keep our classrooms open. I'm so sorry. I'm sure some people love goggles. But I just picture my husband coaching football in a mask and goggles. That will crack me up. That will so crack me up. I would recommend putting our teachers in some sort of eye protection so we can keep our classrooms open for the teachers too, because they're very nervous because they have to be around these kids all day. Imagine. No, he did not have a mask or goggles. Thank you.
My teacher was wearing a face shield this morning.
A whole face shield.
Yeah, it was cracking me up.
But did you have to look straight ahead to see it? Did you have your mask on while looking straight ahead? No. I love you. That's so great. Board member Eric Walters, and this is kind of what we're up against. I also believe that for every one person you have out in this community that says they don't want us to wear masks, I think you'll find two people that I truly feel that want to be protected. If this goes through our school, it is going to go through Walmart or businesses. It's going to go through everywhere. I think if we surveyed our community, there are a lot of people out there that are asking, why on earth are our kids not wearing masks right now? Did you guys see the survey yesterday in Lake Expo? Yes. Yeah. So does anybody know how that ended up? Like what the 64% of people who took the survey voted no. It was on Lake Expo.
But I thought they had their own.
Well, that's really, I love that question. Well, it's a comment, but.
Right, and they said that, I mean, fundamentally, it's our children in the school.
Yep.
So, I think we should decide. I'll But I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
it should have been our decision. It should be on us.
Yeah, give him a mic. Give that man a mic, because his point is very well taken. Because
When we decided to seat our children, we made that choice.
exactly. Thank you. Yes, we did. I did. So, yes, and you get the mic next. You're passing. No, you go next. You go now, and then pass the mic to her.
I lost my train of thought. I'm gonna let her.
No, I just feel like it was a very underhanded thing that was done when I decided whether my child was going to be in-seated or not. And my child, one of my children, my oldest, he's in high school, and he said he was okay with wearing a mask. I don't personally feel that it's necessary, but he is old enough to make his decision,
Sure.
and I'm not going to tell him what to do. But when I made that choice that I was going to put my child in seat because that's what I think is best for him, I can't educate my child. I work full time. I can't be there to make sure he's doing what he needs to do. So that's why I chose that. I chose not his health, but I chose his social being and his ability to get a good
Absolutely.
education is what I thought he's getting. Obviously, that's not the case. But that's what I chose. I chose that over fear.
Yeah.
If we have faith in our God,
Yes.
then we should not be fearful of
Yes.
this
Amen.
because that is what they're feeding on. We also have a small young child
right.
that has been told that she should have been held back from kindergarten, from first grade, and they are now not giving us the option because we cannot obviously give her the assistance that she needs.
Yeah.
We can't give her the assistance that she needs, but now you're saying, I have no choice. I have to make this
Yeah.
6-year-old wear a mask that she's uncomfortable in because I have more fear of her falling further behind
Yeah.
than I do with her wearing a mask. And no parent should have to
No.
make that choice.
No, it's
it
wrong.
should not be that way.
Amen.
So those are my feelings on this. These administrators, they think, I don't think that these people are trying to be vindictive. I think that these people are trying to do what they think is best. But honestly, it's my child.
Yes.
So it should be my right to choose
Yes.
what's best for my child.
I agree. Good job. Yes, please, please.
I'm sorry, I know.
No, please.
Can I just talk real quick? I'm just saying that I did see studies where the parents were asked, and we did speak
Yes,
out, and we
yes.
did actually say that, hey, we don't want this. So I think that should have been respected,
Agree.
and they should have respected that. And it was an overwhelming percentage of parents
Yes.
that wanted it. So fundamentally, it's our children that's being there. So why not listen to us? I understand the survey in the community, but the parents' survey should have been the one that
I agree. And
remained
teachers-
predominant. I mean. And I think that one was even more than the Lake Expo one. But I'll let this
I will say this really quick because the teachers were surveyed also, and Callie made a really good point. It was the last thing on the list. The importance of things to go back to school. Was it the last thing on the list? The last thing that teachers were concerned about were masks.
Why survey us if you're not going to listen?
Exact. Thank you. Thank you, Jean. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, I just need to get this in because I promised I
Yes.
would, and go on record as everyone knowing the claim that Dr. Sherry Neal contacted the school begging them to make students wear masks is 100% unequivocally and completely false. Didn't happen. Just want to make sure everyone knows that.
You want to do this right now? Address it now. So I'm going to set up that comment for those of you who didn't get to watch the school board meeting. Nurse Rhonda, she brought up Dr. Sherry Neal and made it sound like that morning that Dr. Sherry Neal, who I think is a wonderful person, and this is not about her, but they quoted her by name, and it made it sound like she had called them and said, you better get those kids in those masks, and we're just doing what has been recommended by a doctor. And that's what they made it sound like that morning. This is what people are tired of, is, again, not being honest. It wasn't on the agenda, but it was under the reopening plan, but even our school board did not know. Please.
You know, I called the school today. My son, he's having a real hard emotional time with us. He absolutely loves school, but today he gets up. He says, Mom, he says, I'm sad. He says, I don't want to go to school today. He says, I don't want to wear a mask.
I'm so sad.
And he's 11, and he absolutely loves school.
11.
And he says that every day he has to sit in the desk and wear a mask all day long. It's not when you're on the move.
That's right.
It's all day long. And I
That's
called
right.
the school today. And he says, no. He says, they said it's when you're on the move. He said, we've had a lot of parents call. And he assured me that it wasn't. He said he's been in the classrooms and stuff. And my son came home today. He says, oh, well, now they're making us wear 2 masks.
What? No, we're not.
And then I had a
He's
call.
11.
And then I had a call from my daughter's school.
Yeah.
And she's 8.
Mm-hmm.
And they said she's having a hard time with the mask. Do you want us to send her into the focus room? No, I don't want you to isolate my daughter.
I just want to read this one more time while you have the mic still. If I can figure out, oh my goodness, we're not going to read that because I don't know how to work this thing all the time. Oh, I got it. Again, if parents feel like it's infringing on their personal rights, we have options for them to keep their kids at home. That's not what we chose. That's not what we chose. You shouldn't have sprung that on us the day after school started. You don't have, a lot of people don't, like you said, you don't have the option to keep your child at home and teach them, so you really have no option. You pay taxes, you live in this district, you have a voice. That's what this meeting's for. Yes.
I have kids with IEPs. There is no way that I could
No.
sit there and teach them.
And they know that.
My 15-year-old doesn't even want to go to school because of the mask. She says, I will absolutely refuse to wear it. She says, I don't want to go.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So when your kids don't even want to go to school,
Yep.
That's sad.
It is
and
sad.
they need an education. And these are kids that absolutely love to go to school before.
Isn't that sad? That's the psychological thing that you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Those are the things as
it
parents
really messes
we see.
with them.
It does mess with them, and that's what we've got to put our foot down about. Yes, you say something. Will you hand the mic to this lady and then move it back over here?
Where are we going?
This lady over here.
I was just wondering if you had a quote of the bullying and mass shaming that they claimed during the board meeting.
You know what? I don't think I have that quote actually, but I have another really good one. I don't have the mass shaming
Because
one.
to me, like to be brought to a board meeting
Yes.
about bullying and mass shaming,
I agree.
where has that concern been
Well, I feel.
over the last?
Well, and to your point, I feel like my kid's being bullied by adults now to wear a mask.
Absolutely.
I feel like we're going to talk about bullying and shaming. My kid's being shamed. My kid's being bullied. The majority of kids in Camdenton schools now are being bullied and shamed by school board members that are demanding our kids be in masks when that's not what this community wants. It's time that they start to listen. This is one of my other quotes real quick. This is Laura Davis. She said, but those kids in Springfield, they did not look unhappy to be wearing masks, but on Halloween, they would beg to wear masks all day, and I know it's different. I just want to keep school open. But here's my thing. Okay, she really said that. It's on the video. Did you hear it? Right? Kathy, stop. The point is, this is the decisions that predicated, we've got to do something to keep the doors open. You're going to hear that over and over again. Well, we got to keep the doors open. I mean, the only way we're going to keep the doors open is to put masks on them. Do you remember the story I told you about the teacher who had to wear a mask all day and had a bloody nose for the first time ever after wearing a mask all day? Where's the real data? It's not the CDC, and it shouldn't matter. Here's the thing. We're reasonable people. But yesterday, John, how many people were in our hospital that tested COVID positive in our hospital?
They were inpatient?
Yeah. 3. How many pending COVID tests were in our hospital yesterday? 0. We have had, so far at the lake, almost 10 million unique visitors from all over the country. We all work in the public, we know. Usually we have 5.4 million. We've had 10 million so far. We have 0 pending cases in our hospital and 3 right now that test positive. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I think I did this one, sorry. Nurse Rhonda, this is my last slide, I think. I'm respectfully asking you to consider for the health and safety of our students, not only for the health and safety of our students, I think, but our staff and everybody. And not only that, I just don't think it'll make a difference in our building and our school, but in our community. And that'll just trickle up to the state and the country and everything. I just want to be great examples for the rest of the schools in the district and in our state. And I just feel like that right now, doing nothing and ignoring the data and research from the CDC is going to set us up for failure. And then she commented the comment about the doctor calling. But Mindy wants to address that real quick, because that's what.
Just real quick on what she was saying.
Yeah.
She also said that she had only been in the high school that day. Do you remember that? She wasn't walking around all the other schools. Like, I've only been in the high school, and they're not doing it. And I'm just thinking, you're making a decision for my first grader, my fourth grader, and my seventh grader because you only walked around the high school today?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up
No,
on that.
that's a great
Here you
point.
go.
Mindy, do you want to address this comment by Nurse Rhonda, please?
Okay, so the
To
gentleman.
piggyback on what Brian said.
What?
Brian.
Oh, yeah. You talked about what Dr. Neal. So what had happened, and I can't remember the name. There was a group that the school put together to kind of come back with the what's it called?
The
reopening.
COVID. Yeah, the
Okay,
COVID
the
crew.
reopening crew. For some reason, I cannot remember that, so I call them the COVID crew because in my head that makes sense. And they are the ones that did a lot of research. And this whole summer, I said numerous times in public and private, I would not want that job. It would be hard to go through all the data. Like we said, there's 40 different, things. I mean, the CDC just now said yesterday that if you've been around COVID people, you don't have to go get tested. It's just like, what? What? I mean, it's so confusing. So who do you believe? So I always was, respectful of the COVID crew and anybody who was on it, that they had to make this decision because there's a lot of information. So when so at first I thought that what they were doing was admirable and doing the right thing. And that's the way I felt until obviously Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock when everything came down and we learned a lot. So obviously it was not on the agenda. We've all talked it. We've made that clear. But the other thing is that all of a sudden there were people, and Dr. Hatfield's one of them, that was wearing a face mask. He hadn't worn a face mask in previous meetings, but he had his face mask on. And the nurse was there. Now, how was it that the nurse was there? No one else, but how was the nurse there to talk about the need for masks if it was just going to come up in topic, that it was not planned? How was the nurse there with that information? And 5 pages of notes about that. You know what I'm saying? To me, what? I'm sorry?
Even stated that she was preparing everything
Right.
before the meeting.
She did say that she was preparing things the night before. So if this wasn't going to be a subject on the agenda, then why was she preparing? Is she telepathic? I mean, and I'm not in any way knocking Nurse Franken. I don't believe that, I'm not saying anything bad about her, but I believe that obviously they knew that they were going to have this discussion, and the rest of us did not. Dr. Neal had a conversation in May of this spring. They had asked some pediatricians, the COVID crew had asked some doctors to come in and discuss what they thought about masks. That was in May. She has had no conversation with the school district, the nurse, or anybody else since May. So when I was sitting there watching that thing, I thought that she had called the school, or the Nurse Franken Monday night and was like, she said a couple weeks ago. And so it wasn't a couple weeks ago. It was, she had not spoken to them since May. So, she's my kid's pediatrician, and I was ready to be like, sister, we're going to have a talk. So although Dr. Neal, God love her, has absolutely nothing to do with this, she just was sitting and heard her name on this thing. She has nothing to do with this. But please know, I think that there were people that were upset because that supposedly she called and told the school this decision needed to be made. That's not the way it went down. So I just want to make that clear, and I'm not talking on Dr. Neal's behalf, other than the fact that we did have a conversation with her.
There also was not a gathering of all pediatricians.
The gathering of all Lake pediatricians that was mentioned, there may have been they did ask a group of doctors to come and talk in May to the 4 doctors.
A lot has changed.
4
since
doctors
May.
came on May during the COVID crew.
Yeah.
But other than that, she has not been there. So.
And I think the point is, in May, A lot of us had legitimate concerns. We didn't know where this was going. We didn't know if it was going to just explode. I was legitimately concerned, not going to lie. We took it very seriously as a family in May. And then summer kind of went on. But anyway, for me, yeah, please, yes, please. Oh, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Does anybody have to wear a mask for a living here? You're supposed to. Okay. I've been in the restoration business since I was 10 years old. So I'm supposed to wear a mask when I'm doing certain duties. Try to sand a car in aerobic exercise with a mask. I didn't know what an S95 was. N95, sorry. Still don't. Still don't. So I went to the shelf in my shop where I have product and material, grabbed a box of masks that I haven't touched in a long time because they are not practical. I looked at it, oh, that's what those are. Didn't know what they were. They're good for dust and particles. That's it. If you're painting, you better be wearing something totally different. And when you're painting, you have a mask that has an exhaust port to get rid of the exhaust in your body. You're not supposed to take that back in. The S95s and these N95s and these joke, whatever masks they're calling these, you're not supposed to breathe your own exhaust.
Yeah. It's making people sick.
Try, yeah. If I choose to breathe the chemical and the dust over my own exhaust,
Yes.
because I'm getting sick,
Yeah.
getting lightheaded, about fainted, I'm out. Try it.
Yeah.
Put one on and try to do something with it.
I want every person
not
here
safe.
to have a voice. I want you to speak because one of the most frustrating things to try to go to a school board meeting and have something that you practice all day in your head, you feel super strongly about, you're passionate about, and they're like, 2 minutes, and you should have signed the card at the beginning before we had everything going, and so if you didn't, that's not on the agenda, you can't talk tonight, it's for you to talk. So I just want everybody that wants to have something to say, because here's what I'm asking. We need to respectfully ask the board to reconsider their vote. Respectfully, we ask you to listen to your community and hear what we have to say. It matters to us. Please listen to us. And that's what I want you guys to all be able to address your concerns because they matter. And that's where this group is super important. If anybody else wants to comment, we're going to move on to the janitor issue after this. And that's not Mindy's going to talk about that.
I do want to say something.
Yeah, please. But if you have something to say about masks, please, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. My name's Sarah. I've been at the school every morning waving at everybody. If you've seen me, hi. No, thank you. So I have 2 kids in school, one in 7th grade and one in 5th grade, and about the technology agreement, I haven't signed it yet because I was waiting to come today. Well, he was told that he cannot participate in school, and he can't do schoolwork, and all the quizzes are timed, and if he can't be on the computer, then they can't figure it out, because printing them out and timing them on a stopwatch is rocket science. Sorry, I mean, I'm sarcastic, and I don't have a filter.
I love you.
But I also had my 5th grader who I said, hey, you're not going to wear a mask, and if they ask you, be respectful and polite, but you can tell them why. So the school principal called me and told me his job was to persuade me to change my mind. I reminded him that I was the parent standing out there with the sign waving at everybody, and that wasn't going to happen. So he told me it was going to be a dress code violation, and he was going to send him home when they started enforcing that, which they haven't yet. So, but I also would like for these people to reconsider and hear us. And if that's not the case, is there something that we can do? They're elected in.
Yes.
So
that's one thing.
There
But
is some
I want to say something about procedure because it matters. When you have a board meeting, an issue is supposed to be on the agenda, so your public knows. Obviously, masks are a huge hot button for this community. Yes. We don't wear them. We're an anomaly. So for it to get umbrellaed under another item, that's deceptive. We need to have a school board meeting where people can be heard. But unfortunately, what I've learned is they're not allowing that. You can't come into a school board meeting anymore. So this is all we're going to get. So the point is, there are things we can do, and the first thing we're going to do is respectfully ask for the board to reconsider. And if we have 2 board members that can make a motion and second it, then it forces the vote of the others. And if they all vote no, we know who they are, and that's fine. But our vote does have power, and it does hold power. And it may take us a couple months to really make a big difference, but the more people that are informed, the more power that we have to make a difference, because this is only our 2nd meeting. Can you imagine how big our 3rd might be? There's power in the people. That's a consent of the governed. That's what your Constitution says. Consent of the governed means something. Who else wants to say something about masks, please? Yes. She's got the mic, yes.
I want to know where the cases are. From what they said in that meeting, there was 1 child in summer school and 8 staff.
And that's a good question.
Where's the cases?
I think the other
These
thing...
kids have been out running around all summer long.
Yeah.
Playing with their friends. They started football in June.
Yep.
Nothing.
And I think another really good point to that is I heard yesterday 16 kids got quarantined. Okay? 16, yes, is that right? The problem is maybe 1 kid came in contact with somebody that got tested positive and they sent all of them home. We have to know what that policy looks like. Who makes that decision? Who decides? My son is a football player, and yours are too. Your kids play sports. So somebody says, come in the office, you've been exposed to somebody, can't tell you who that is, that's HIPAA violation, but you got to go home for 14 days. What? They have a mask on now. They have masks. So the mask should protect them so we don't have to do that to kids. Nope. This is about control. And it's getting a little ridiculous. You got to put your foot down, people, and it's okay. Doesn't mean we hate the school. We love our school. Can we all say we love our school? We just want to take our school back, right? That's right. Yes.
One of the things that you can do as a parent or as yourself, if you have a health issue, you do not have to wear a mask. And I have a health issue. My knee bothers me a lot. And they are not allowed by law to ask me any of my health conditions. Mm-hmm. So I have a health condition, and I'm not going to wear a mask. And
there's another point, a really good point made, and if somebody that's in here wants to talk about it, it's a religious exemption to wearing a mask. Well, and he might not want to. There's such a thing as a religious exemption to wearing a mask to cover your face. If you have a religious issue with that, you have a First Amendment right to reject. Use your rights, people. Yes, sir. Oh, I don't know where the mic's at right now. It's headed that way, so we'll come back to you.
I'm just going to circle back around to the deception point. I'm not a rumor girl. I don't really like drama. I like to get my information firsthand from the source. So that's what I did. I called the week before school, and I went straight to the top, and I asked a couple of questions, and I got it straight from the source. And what I was told and completely assured of is that there would be no mask mandate, exact words, verbatim, unless the county health department mandated it or the governor mandated it at the state level. 1 week before school. So I just want to share that and make sure that everyone is aware that our top leader lied.
Yes, good information. Wherever.
Hi. So there's a 9th grader and a 12th grader that goes to the high school, and they did not wear their masks today. And so they were sent to the principal's office, and the principal he asked, why won't you wear it? And he said medical reasons. He said, what medical reasons? The kid said, you're not allowed to ask me that. It's a HIPAA violation. Call my dad. And both kids did not have to wear masks.
Wait, say it again. I want to hear that part. Say it again.
Both kids do not have to wear masks now.
Fantastic. Great information. Thank you.
There was a kid that was sent home today or kicked out of class.
They need to learn how to phrase it then. Yeah. Because here's the deal. You guys, everybody heard what she said, right? Yeah. Teach your children at home. Teach them at home what she just said. Another? Over here? Over here. Yes.
Then I'm coming over there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to second. I also called the school. I did not talk to Dr. Hadfield. I called Mr. Thompson at the high school. I have a senior. And asked the same question about the mask mandate because I'm not a fan of the masks. I feel like our immune systems are capable of working properly the way they were designed. I, too, was assured no mask mandate. I wanted to make sure there was going to be no bullying from any staff member or shaming to make him wear a mask. Was assured that wasn't going to happen. So I definitely think it was a deceptive tactic. And I'm also would like to see a survey of parents from the board. I think it's important. I just don't think that any board member, period, unless it's educationally related, should be making health decisions on behalf of the parents.
I agree. And the other thing I want to say about the surveys, let's have a really quick talk about this. Surveys. Does everybody always get a survey? Like, I don't. So when they come to a board meeting, like, well, 82% of our surveyed members have said, okay, here's the deal. Data is made to be manipulated. With it. Thank you, yes. But the issue becomes surveys aren't accurate. So when our school board like, well, the last survey said, that's ridiculous. Start listening to the people in your community. They're sitting right here tonight. I don't care what it survey's a little dot. You guys are real people. You notice it's the outspoken people that don't get the surveys? Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that. I never got one. But the issue becomes this: when you guys hear, well, the survey said, data is manipulated every single day. And once you guys start to learn that they show you what they want you to see because it fits their narrative, that has to stop. That has to stop. We can do better. We have opinions. We're not a little fill in the blank. I'm not a survey. I have children that I love that have hearts and souls and minds, and I'm a parent and I should have rights. Yeah, where's the next person?
So I don't like wearing masks at all. I work at Walmart and we are supposed to wear masks all the time. And I wear a shield now because my face totally broke out wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. So I hate wearing masks. Mm-hmm. But my question is, and it's kind of off the mask question, it goes to the first question about the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
From what I understand from my kid, who is a junior, they walk in the classroom. The teachers can't even teach, like you said. So they just basically go into a classroom to do their Chromebook work. Mm-hmm. So why is the school even open? Why are we even subjecting our kids to the germs or subjecting the teachers to the germs if they're not even going to teach? Well, why are we buying back to school supplies if they can't even use notebooks?
So let me answer that question, because here's the deal. As somebody who's been in Jefferson City in the Capitol for the last 12 years, I can tell you this. It's always been geared to exactly what's happening right now. They don't want teachers. Teachers are expensive, they're opinionated, and they get a retirement, and they cost health insurance. Teachers are expensive. If Google can teach our children every single day with a book, a Chromebook, that is the goal, teachers. Teachers need to find their voice because that is the goal. They don't want our teachers teaching. They want people to say, just send them home, and we don't have to pay for this anymore.
So how do we fix it?
We've got to take our board back. And I know that seems easy, but here's the deal. We've never had the community really want to get involved. That's going to bring us to our next subject, the janitor, in a second. That's not my subject, but we need to talk about that. And before you guys leave, I need a notebook or something at this door. Please put, if you want to be notified, if you haven't, would you just pass that around or leave it somewhere? Please put your name and email address down. We're going to pass it around. It's probably going to have all kinds of germs on it in a minute, and I will Lysol it. I'm going to Lysol it down. I'm going to put my goggles on and my mask. I'm going to goggle up. That thing is going to be covered in germs, Mindy.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I have a senior in high school.
Yes.
And he said that they're contact tracing in the high school. I don't know if there's a teacher that works in the high school that's curious about it. Riley said they're contact tracing in the high school already, like they're scanning QR codes.
Wait, what?
When they leave buildings.
What?
Leaving rooms.
When they go in the classroom, they put their little badgie thing.
Since when did this start? Why did I not know about
And he has to put a time where he left, what time, and they have to check back in with a time. I'm just curious about.
Well, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
research that. I'm gonna Google. I'm not googling it. I'll find out. Is it on their phone or is it on their badge? See, that's why this meeting is important. We all learn stuff when we come together. I know what to ask my kid tonight. I didn't know what. What? Oh, so did they hear that on the live feed? So the thing was, what she said is that they're now requiring in the high school, they have a phone and they're scanning their phones with a QR code. They're contact tracing through scanners on their, I don't know. We don't know for sure.
He scans it up a Google Doc form.
A Google Doc forms when,
Fill that in.
what, for every class?
Whenever they
Well, we need to find out. And if you go to the bathroom, you have to scan your, what? Can you tell us, is that true? Here, give the microphone to this student right here. Thank you. Yes, it's okay. We're teaching them young. Teaching them young, kids. Give her a hand.
Okay, but before she says something, I'm really proud of her. Today, my daughter, she's 15 years old, she's a sophomore. She took the initiative to form a protest. She had a lot of kids until that kid got sent home, and they became afraid. So she had 10 kids go with her. Her name is Samantha Jo Owens, and she did it. She walked out of that school with her head held high, and she protested about no masks.
Yay. I have goosebumps, just so you know, and you made me want to cry.
I'm really nervous and I don't talk in front of big crowds, so this is new for me. But I'm there every day, and there's a student in the back. Her name's Kelsey. She's there every day.
Kelsey?
And
so darling.
If you don't do the scan on your phone, they make you do a paper pin, and you have to go stand over there by the door and sign out. And you put your first name and last name, and then you put the time you left, the date, and then you check in whenever you walk back in with the time that you came in. I do this.
Are you?
Yeah, they have to
This
trace
is
who
hip-hop
you're
conditioning.
with. They are tracing who you've been with, like who you sit next to, and if there's somebody else that has left the classroom, they see who else left to like go to the bathroom.
Okay, so here's the deal. I have a board member in the House, and I need to know, has that been voted on as part of new policy that we're contact tracing through QR codes in our school? That's ridiculous. You keep protesting and invite me next time because I love a good protest. I'm dead serious. My son is Bear. Do you know Bear? Well, my son, he won't tell me because he's so embarrassed because I love protests. You tell me. You get my phone number. You text me because I will be there.
And Sarah.
Sarah.
Woo! I contacted her last night to help me with my protest. My mom was there, Mike was there, my brother Justin Owens was there,
okay.
And Michelle was there. Dusty Burns was there. I mean, I had some parents. Josh was there, had some parents, and I had me, Kelsey, Chelsea. I had a group of kids, and I had a whole bunch of kids too. One kid got sent home, and everybody bailed on me.
That's what we're talking about. It's instilling fear. And let me ask this question. So if you don't wear a mask, did he get sent home or her sent home because she wasn't wearing a mask or because she was protesting? Which was it? Or she didn't contact trace?
He got sent home because he wasn't wearing a mask.
Okay, my other question to the board member, has there been policy voted on that's changed the dress code? That's where we go. They're acting outside of their limits. They're not changing policy. They're just coming up with it. Does anybody know if the dress code includes masks? No. So here's the deal. They're arbitrarily deciding in a punitive way how they're going to punish your kid. If your kid misses too many days, guess what they do? They turn them into DFS.
Was the vote Tuesday morning to change the policy?
Would you? No. Can I hug you? I just want to hug you. I'm so proud of you. I'm dead serious.
This lady has been very patient, like
10 questions ago.
So my topic is a little bit further back because I have been waiting a little bit.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Everyone's voice is important. My daughter and I had to go. This is actually has to do with Sherry Neal. She's my daughter's nurse.
Yes.
Or doctor. Sorry. And we went in, and they wanted me to wear a mask. I can't. I have anxiety. It causes me claustrophobic panic attacks. And so the thought of not being able to go into the doctor with my daughter was really hard because they told me I had to wear one. So I told her I couldn't, and she asked me if I could, first she asked Sherry if it was okay if I didn't wear one. This is why I'm bringing it up, because she did say that it was okay. But while I was walking in the hallway, I had to hold it like over my face, not like touching or anything. How that's supposed to help, I'm not sure, just to make everyone feel comfortable, I guess. But I did it because that doesn't bother me. But my daughter did have to wear one. So I wanted to speak about that because she did actually say I didn't have to wear one.
Yeah.
Neither one of us had to wear one when we were in the room. I didn't have to wear it when I was in the waiting room.
But to your point, it causes grave anxiety, not just for you as an adult. Can you imagine how many kids it does the same thing to? And
my daughter does not like to wear it.
Yeah.
The first time she put it on, she's like, "Mom, do I have to wear this?" And I was like, "As soon as we get in the room, no."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, why don't you have to wear one?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Mommy's got issues. I'm sorry." I don't know what to tell you. So
I totally get it.
But she didn't. It causes her issues too, and she doesn't
course.
like it. And so I think it's.
Yeah. Who else? Anybody else on masks?
I think the important thing here is to say is I think Sherry Neal, she did it for the comfort of everybody else, not because she felt like it was necessary.
Of course.
That's what I feel, because this is not protecting anybody from anything,
That's right.
and that's basically what she told her to do, and it was more for the comfort of everybody else as she walked through the hallways.
I get it.
So I don't, to testament to Sherry Neal, I think that
Sure.
she probably at the beginning stages was concerned and had opinions.
Of course.
But
We all did, honestly. And that's what I want to say. If your kid goes to school in a mask, there's no judgment. But don't judge mine when they come without one. Yes? Here's a microphone, just real quick. Please.
So I did contact the school this morning, and I asked them what the discipline would be if my child chose to not wear a mask. And they did say that they've been told from the upper echelons that they will be disciplined through the dress code. And I asked specifically if they had voted to change the dress code, and they said no. They had not. I also asked, I said, he's in Oak Ridge, he's 11, and can we meet in the middle? I mean, what if we put they make a really nice plastic
Sure.
shield that goes on his ball cap. I know the ball cap's against dress code, but could he wear that?
Of course.
And that would allow him to get the mask off of his face.
Sure.
And the principal there said he doubted it. He would ask, and I told him to please don't let me hang. I need to know ASAP because it matters whether I do distance learning
Sure.
or if I send my kid to school. And he said, I don't imagine that they'll allow you to use the shield instead of a mask. And Cale was in the class, he was in the principal's office during the conference call, and he said, well, the speech teacher doesn't wear a mask. She wears a shield. And he said, yeah, but the kids need to be able to see her mouth move. And he said, well, the lunch ladies don't wear a mask. And he said, well, they wear a shield, but then there's the plastic window between them. Well, that doesn't keep her from spitting
That's right.
germs on my kid's food before she hands it to them.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I asked specifically if we could meet in the middle somewhere, and they're supposed to contact me back, but I'm pretty sure they're
So-
going to say no.
Let me ask real quick, how many people don't have Facebook? Don't. You don't, kids? Okay, that's good. You shouldn't. That's good. It's so bad. Nathan wants to talk. Nathan, got your hand up? Oh, no. Next, but then Nathan, sir.
I took the mic over.
Oh, please.
I took the mic over.
Yeah.
It's very strange times, obviously. Going back to the budget issues and things, there's the CARES Act the county got. A little over $5 million, almost $5.4 million. And those funds are supposed to be for the county to hand out for COVID problems. I know you're talking $300,000 was this big money scheme I guess they were trying to get, which
They got.
Which seems like pennies compared to what they're trying to spend on the court system, video system, They're trying to push $700,000 through that. I think there's a lot of things that we need to be talking about that we're kind of getting snowballed on a lot of things. They're pushing through things, one budget or one bid type items, getting pushed through. This is the county level. You obviously see it through the state and the federal as well. And I don't know, if we're a Republican area down here, we're spending a lot of money on things that are seen very unnecessary.
Totally agree.
And I know it doesn't go into wearing the mask, but maybe some of that money can come towards some of those things. Like they're wearing full face shields. Why can't the kids wear full face shields?
I just want to know, if we have CARES Act money, we need more teachers so our kids can social distance and take the masks off. So when are we going to use money to actually pay for teachers again? No Chromebooks. Let's pay for our teachers. That's to me. Nathan wants to say something.
Well, first I should probably just quantify this by saying I don't have kids in the school. I homeschool, but my taxes go to it. So as far as the mask mandate that the school did, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything, but it seems like they had that planned, like they let you all get signed up so they could get your money, so they could get your attendance. And if you don't think the school does things like that, I hate to tell you, but they do.
Yes.
They're very deceptive. I don't think there's a school district in the country that's not. Secondly, back to the homeschool, how many of you in here are conservative? Do you kind of lean conservative a little bit? You lean a little bit conservative? Well, I'll tell you what, the school districts do not. Most people that sign up to teach, most people, not the teachers necessarily, but the administrators, things like that, definitely lean towards leftism and socio-engineering. The things that they teach your kids, the opinions that they give to your kids. Look at all these BLM riots and things like that. Where do you think those kids were educated at? Private school? No. Look at the generation that's come up right now and the pervasiveness of social justice warriors. Really, to me, I know you all are talking about how you can fix it. I don't think it can be fixed unless people who actually care about morals and things like that are signing up and not... I think the reason it attracts that type of person is because they say, well, I can change the world by changing their little minds. It's not necessarily a good thing. Look what it's got us. And it's been going on for a long time. When I was a kid, there was plenty of teachers in there telling us their opinions and how they think things should be in the world. That's why we chose to homeschool. My wife homeschools 5 kids. It's actually a lot easier, especially look into a thing called unschooling. It's legit. It really is, because how many of you even use a quarter of what you learned in school? In adult life. Most of it is useless information that they stretch out over 12 years, and in my opinion, they rob your kids of their childhood in doing so. You're stuck in a room for 8 hours a day, learning useless information. And at this point, it sounds like they're not even teaching them math, which I would consider a little bit above useless. I think the useless information is all the stuff that is, social issues and things like that are like, why are we even talking about this? Why are we having surveys about sex with kids? Like, seriously? That's what they're having surveys about, their sexual activities and things? Gross. Like, why are they even doing that? So I guess I'm here just to say, if you can do it, strongly consider pulling your kids out of the school, because I think they're too far gone.
So I'm going to hand over. We got a couple other people that want to say something. We're going to talk about the janitor. So I'm not talking about that. Mindy's going to talk about it and give you an update. But here's the deal. If you have kids in the room that don't, can you be like, not extra? Because it's kind of hard to navigate. That's why I'm not navigating this. But listen, please, you're better. Please know this. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for caring enough to come. I learned things tonight, and I hope that our normal meetings won't last this long. This is like a first big meeting. If you guys are on Facebook, Matt has a Facebook page that you need to join. What's that? What is it? It's Camdenton.
Parents and Teachers of Camdenton R-III.
Parents and Teachers of Camdenton R-III. We'll put our meetings in those in that Facebook group. And we need your email address, phone number. We'll let you know of our next meeting. There will be a call to action on the masks. We will write an open letter to our school board on behalf of this group, and we will ask them to reconsider in a very civil way. If they don't, then we'll look at a plan B. So we will have other meetings. There'll be something to take away. I wish more kids. I don't know where my son's at tonight, but he's coming to the next one. But I wish more kids would come because we can learn what's happening in the school when they tell us what's happening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing. You inspire all of us. But if we can get your names and email addresses, Mindy's going to end with this. Yep. So this is Mindy. I think here's what I would say, the same thing. If your child has a medical issue, HIPAA protects their privacy. They do not have to explain what their medical issue is, and they can't ask them what it is. So they don't need a doctor's note. Now that could change. Hopefully they'll adopt policy. It's novel if they, what? What was that? Well, then that's not in policy, and I don't know if that'd fall under dress code or not. Here, Mindy's going to talk to you real quick.
Real quick. Right. Oh, sorry. Lord, how about that? Is that good? Okay. Hi, y'all. My name is Mindy Sales. If you don't know who I am, that's okay. I'm just a mom. Crazy mom, as we've been titled by certain people in the school district for being passionate about our kiddos. And so those of us that are crazy moms have kind of decided to call ourselves the crazy good moms because we're crazy good. And we're here to do what's best for our kiddos. I know that you guys had talked briefly about the masks, about what can we do now between now and a call of action. My recommendation to you is to send an email to the board. And don't stop sending an email to the board. Send it every day. Ask your friends to send it. Send and inform people the truth. The email to the board, which we've plastered all over this place, but we'll put it again on the Facebook page, is just board@camdentonschools.org. That gets you to the school board, and of course, I know Dr. Hadfield gets it, and then I'm not sure if Dr. Neal does too. And Linda Liu, the secretary. So they all get the information about the what you send. When you send a little blurb, they get it, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you want us to be heard, and we want them to reconsider. So please get those emails out. It's important. It's a way for them to be heard.
They sign them.
Sign.
They don't like to get anonymous.
Oh, well, they don't like to get anonymous ones. Yeah, they'll probably know it because of your email. But anyway, so that's something you guys can do if it's something you want to start right now. I say go in on it, get starting, so the sooner we can let the board know how serious we are and that, we want to be heard. Another thing I want to say real quick, and to the people listening and to all of you here, which I know you all know, we are not here because we, I've been accused of hating the school district. I have nothing better to do. I want to stir up trouble. I don't like the administration, which that may or may not be true, but that's irrelevant. I don't like the school board. I hate the teachers. I do nothing but cause problems. Please know, and I'm sure most of you feel this way, I really love Camdenton schools. I love this school. Now, we've been here for 10 years, which is not very long. I know you have to have like 40 generations before you're considered a local here. And I'm only 10 years, so I know. But I have a lot of friends and a lot of people that say to me how wonderful Camdenton was and what a joy it was and how proud you are to be from Camdenton and how it was awesome, when Bob Shore was the coach and, Pappy was leading the guys and, all the wonderful things that were going on at Camdenton and how proud we were of that, how proud you all were of that. And that's not happening today. But I do not believe it's because of any teacher in this district, or not necessarily any principal or vice principal in this district. It is higher up, and that's where we need to be making the changes. But to any teacher listening, or if you feel, or if you're a nurse, or if you're a para, if you're a janitor, everyone but the janitor is not here anymore. But if you're those people, please know that we love you. This is not an attack on you. So please know that when you hear us talking, it's not about you in the classroom. It's not about you in the lunchroom. It's about the people at the admin who are not listening to all of us. Okay? We're a voice for them. Amen. We are a voice for them. And I'll tell you why that's a fact. I get messages, and there are other friends in here who do. I get messages from teachers who say, I can't say this out loud. Or seriously, I have spouses of teachers that contact me because the teachers are so afraid to say anything to me because they're afraid they're going to get fired for talking to me. Like, I'm not even anybody important. I'm just a crazy lady with horses and ducks and dogs and kids, and I have a silly radio show every other Friday. You know what I'm saying? But they're afraid to talk to me. And what does that say? What does that say about our administration? That doesn't say anything about our teachers. It's our administration who makes them feel that way. And so that is something we need to change. So, okay, real quick. The situation on the lawsuit, which was brought by a teacher against the district. So we're not going to talk a bunch about the lawsuit in particular. The thing that I am most upset with is that it's clear through the lawsuit, if you've read any of the documentations, that our administration was aware of this. They were aware of it several different times before the third time after the janitor was finally criminally charged and is in jail right now, waiting trial. So my thing is, this was my biggest thing, and this is what kept me up, was that they knew about this, they moved it, they kept moving him instead of getting rid of him, and they still never did anything to stop this guy. And they are making the decisions for my kiddos? No, they're not going to. And that's what upset me the most. I need my phone real quick. Sorry, I don't know what. Is it in one of those? I think it's in my purse. So if you, I have put on social media that I had sent some emails about the fact that this, people are like, oh my gosh, you sent that email? Dr. Hadfield sees that email. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, if you know me, I don't care. I will say that what I feel based on what I believe to be the truth, and that's how I talk. I don't hide behind anything. But here's what I sent to. Let me see here. Here's what I sent to them. I sent this morning. I am requesting that Dr. Hadfield and Dr. Neal be out of on administrative leave immediately based on the accusations in the lawsuit filed this week. I strongly suggest that you as a board, you show that you are for student safety and about doing the right thing. Okay? That was my first thing. Thank you. So, let me see here. Let me find my little response. Okay. Here's my response. Which, by the way, this is a blanketed response that other parents got, so I'm sure it's just from an attorney. But anyway, Dear Mindy, thank you for sharing your concerns. The board and district are committed to ensuring a safe environment for all students. We are aware of Mr. Ritchie's lawsuit and the allegations made by him therein. Please rest assured that the allegations made by Mr. Ritchie were investigated by a third-party investigator. We'll come back to that. Based on the investigation, the district disputes Mr. Ritchie's claims. Okay? They dispute the district. So I wrote back, who is the district? Is it the school board? Who is the district? Is it the school board? Because does that mean that Callie and everybody else agreed that they agree with that Mr. Ritchie is not being honest? No, that did not happen. Because there's not everyone on the school board thinks that is not one way or another. And they certainly don't want to be representing that they agree with this, that he is, let's see here, let me read. The district disputes Mr. Ritchie's claims. Okay, so I wrote back, who is the district? Who are you telling me this? And I have no response. I know it's surprising. So here's what I said back to them. And it was signed by Chris McAleer, the board president. So I sent it back to Chris. I said, Chris, exclamation point. right? Because I know him personally, and I said, you have a responsibility to the kids and the parents of this district. You don't know if the accusations are true and false, or true or false. Are you saying the district includes a school board? So you are agreeing with Dr. Hadfield and Dr. Neal? If you do, then you need to resign immediately. You cannot know the truth or make your own determination in 24 hours. Are you saying that the board is backing Hadfield and Neal? And then I have not heard, of course, I've not heard anything back. I know, shocker. So, yeah, just a second. I'll take some questions. So, what I have asked is that Dr. Neal and Dr. Hadfield be put on administrative leave, and I think that that's what should happen, because I am not. If there are some serious allegations in there, and they are backed by some pretty good facts. So if those allegations are true, and that our superintendent and assistant superintendent knew information, moved a janitor around that was making some very poor decisions, and did not do something about it, if that is true, then I'm not okay with them in charge of my school district. Like I said, I've asked for them to be put on administrative leave. I have heard nothing. Clearly, they're not going to. Because the way they responded is that the district disagrees with Mr. Ritchie's allegations. So obviously he's not going to be put on, I don't see them being put on administrative leave. Yeah, well, luckily, we plan ahead. So here's the deal. I'm going to take questions just a second, but if you want to sign something stating you would like to see the them put on administrative leave strictly based on this, please feel free to sign it. And please, and another thing I want to make clear in this, and I'm going to talk for Stacy too, this is not about a witch hunt to get them. This is about being good, responsible parents and taking care of our district. Because I can tell you guys right now, there are teachers right now, only because I've got text messages already, thanking us for standing up for them tonight. So this is about helping out the teachers. This is about doing things for all sorts of people in the district that are afraid to say a word. And so it happens all the time. I know numerous of my friends receive messages from people that say, I don't want to tell you this, or don't ever use my name, or I signed this fake account because I don't want you to feel like you can't tell. There are stories and there are people, but they don't feel like they can come to their administration and talk to them. That's a problem for me. If you can't go to your administration and say, listen, there's protocol, they set it up, let's follow it, but you can't even trust that now. And I'm not okay with this. I mean, my kids only have, my youngest is a freshman now. I only have 4 years, that's not very long. But I may someday have grandkids in this place, in this district. And I want to be proud. I want to be proud. And I want my kids to be proud they graduated from there. Because I can tell you, my older two, especially because of some of the stuff went on, they love their school. They love their friends. They love Friday Night Lights, man. Let me tell you. There's nothing better than being in the jaws of death. I mean, they love it. But to think about some of the stuff they've had to deal with and watching their teachers, that's been really hard. And it doesn't bring joy to their heart. So I want it back. And I hope that you guys are with me on that. So if anybody has questions, like I said, I don't want to get in depth into the lawsuit because it's just broke, and I mean I've read it all, but still, it is. Please go read it so you can see for yourself kind of what is going on. But yeah, questions.
So, because of time, if you have questions on this side, I'll go across.
Perfect.
And I'll come back. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to start right back here.
All right, it's just more of a observation than a question. These men are trusted with our children. We trust them with our kids, and this is a major problem going on. They severely dropped the ball. There's a lot of allegations. There's a lot of things. They should have let the parents notify, especially if they have allowed this to happen more than once. They should absolutely be fired and not be here. This shouldn't be going to court. They shouldn't be allowed to have their jobs. We know how the government and this process takes. It's going to take 10 years before this ever comes out in court or anything like this. We need to do something now. We need to go ask these people and hold them responsible for what they did. I personally probably am going to step up my game a little bit. I have a media company, small little media company on Facebook called Freedom Press Media, Freedom Press 411. Check it out tomorrow. Might be something that you guys might want to check out. I think that we've trusted them with our children and that we have to do something in order to reconcile this. I've seen to where they have to publicly announce this, and by law, they have to announce this, and since they didn't, they've actually broken the law. And so we as parents, there's a line here to where we can actually stand up and be like, look, they broke the law, and this is just beyond them not coming out and being transparent with the public. This is them actually breaking the law. We need to hold them accountable and maybe actually even throw them in handcuffs until they come out and express to the public what happened. I mean, I think they need to be transparent and explain what happened, and just not take the route of, oh, I'm going to wait till court. They need to let us know what happened right now, because our kids are still in this school. My kids were in those schools where this happened. That's absolutely unacceptable, and that's just where I stand on.
Well, and I think that one thing that I think is frustrating for a lot of parents is that administration, they're mandatory reporters. So they're mandatory reporters. So when this happened one time, should a mandatory report. Second time, mandatory report. Third time, mandatory report, and that didn't happen. There shouldn't have been a second or third time, because if they were reported the first time. So that's frustrating, and that's what's keeping me up right now. I agree with you, absolutely. Gotta have a microphone, babe. Hold on just a sec.
As I'm sitting here and I'm listening to everybody, I'm thinking about process. And I think that there has to be a way that we hold the root cause of these issues accountable. It sounds to me like the superintendent is one of the people that's behind some of these issues. It's also school board, and then we have to fault ourselves for culture because we've let this go on for too long. So for me, the process would be something by which we hold the school board members accountable to standards. We have several symptoms here of both bad leadership and school board not holding the superintendent accountable, which is the fear of speaking out, the bad use of the money for poor educational results, lack of parental control, this EMINT thing that we're talking about. And it seems to me like we already have enough things to ask for a recall of school board members, but I think that there still needs to be a process by which people follow, and they know that they're held accountable too. And then once the school board members are recalled, then you get rid of another source of the issue. I don't see that unless you follow a good, clear process, that what we're wanting to see happen would change.
Yeah. Wait a second. They've got the mic.
My point is kind of like along his lines.
Mm-hmm.
Were these people told by higher ups to do this? Do we need to go after the people? Were these people, the two people, were they, they knew this problem? Were they told by people above them? Transfer the guy here, transfer the guy there. And do we need to go to their bosses, not just get rid of them? Are they being like the scapegoats for somebody higher up? Have anybody checked into that?
Well, the higher up, we're at the highest up.
That's the highest up. Those are the highest up.
The highest up, and then the next person in charge is you and me. We are the ones in charge of that. We're the ones that have to stand up and make a difference. And I totally hear what you're saying, but I just want to say one thing real quick about it, and I'm so glad y'all are here. But I have sat in school board meetings for years and tried to get people like, listen, this is happening. And people will say, oh, it doesn't bother me. I don't have kids in that grade. Or things like that, So there have been a core of us really trying to do the right thing. And it has nothing to do with vindictiveness or any of that. It's about doing the right thing for our kids. I'm glad you're here and joining us, because it's going to take each of us to make a difference in this community.
I think we're all pretty much on the same page here as everybody talking. Accountability with this gentleman here and the process with this gentleman here. None of this was made knowledge when it first happened. Like you said, it shouldn't have happened a second, a third time.
Absolutely.
We know this guy through acquaintances of ours. He's been to our house a handful of times for dinner after this had happened, right? Had that been knowledge to us, that's not a situation that we would have been in.
Absolutely.
I mean,
you would never let them in your house.
Accountability and the process of how we go about making all of this right. So.
Right. And you're good? Okay.
So, is his dad still employed by Camdenton?
I don't know, but from my understanding.
Because if anybody that knows his name's Jesse DeVroe. So you, Warren, yeah. So you can go on Google right now, Camdenton, Missouri, Warren DeVoe, and you can find this gentleman is still employed by the school. And I just think, if there's a simple reason why he got moved around, it's because he's buddies with these guys. He's been there for a while, and that's a big problem. If that's the reason, it's usually the most simple reason.
Right.
So he was buddies. His dad's there, been there forever. They covered it up for him. That's the plain, simple answer. There's, it's not that complicated. His dad's been there forever.
But you want to know what? I'm just, and I think you may be spot on. I didn't know that information. But I've got some great friends in the front row here. But if I were ever in that situation, my loyalty is to the truth and to the society. Yes. And not to my buddy who might work with me. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? What?
I said you're not a school administrator.
I would make a great one, though. I would.
Hi, I have not had
Did you
children.
were just telling me to
go
stop
ahead.
talking? You did. That was this. Lady, stop. That's what he did. Go ahead.
My youngest is 33 years old, and I went through a lot while they were in school here in Camdenton. But so much so that I have not even toured the new high school. I just had to divorce myself from the whole situation. However, there's so much bad going on. I've seen it on Facebook. My daughter's told me about it. And I think the mask is an issue, the janitor's an issue, the money's an issue, the test scores are an issue. There's so many issues that what this group can't possibly solve. I agree with Nathan. It is so beyond solving. This group should be focused on finding a good school board members to run every election, only 2, if it's the time for 2. Get them in there. Don't make Callie do it all alone.
Right.
And this group should ask their friends, anybody who's willing, anybody that's not afraid to stand up. No. And that's what it's going to take, because the school board is the only ones who can fire people who are administrators. And the school board's job is to hire and fire administrators, and their job
supervise.
is to run the rest of the school. And he was on for a long time, and he's glad it was before social media. But
Truth.
yes, they can.
The question was, can
They're
the school
the-
board file it? Yes, the
They
school
are
board.
the only ones who can. The current
Even though
school
he's the
board
CEO,
obviously
yes.
is, maybe we got 2 to 5.
Possibly.
You got to line people up ahead of time to
Well,
this group. Ask your friends. Ask anybody who's interested, who's willing. The school board has to fire him. By electing people that know the situation who are willing to do it.
Well, we have 2 options. We have electing people, which is exactly right. But I think that there are a lot of people that would make awesome board members that are like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with this. Callie has a lot of guts. And let me tell you, that she has to fight hard for us. Well, that's what we have they have the option of a recall.
You either do a recall or you have to go through the whole cycle. You'd have to look at I have not done
And
any
that's something that
research
we
on
can
that
talk about,
process.
and we can talk about on this
The second way
Facebook
is you
page.
have to go through the whole cycle of every year voting new members in until you get a majority. Yeah, it's 2 coming up. And it may just take 1 cycle. What it would take, like she was saying earlier, 2 people can actually change a school board, because you can have one make a motion, the other one second it. And it exposes them pretty quickly on the way they vote. Okay, you can bring issues up pretty quick and have solutions if you have 2, and then you get 2 more, and then you have majority. Okay, when I served for 6 years. Laura served 3. We were 2 votes from flipping that board back then. 2 votes from our general public. We had one board member win by 2 votes. Okay, guys? So we were there back on the early issues when we were fighting this early. Okay, but we were fighting the Lake Sun back then. They controlled the narrative. For some reason, the admin, we were the bad guys. They got the teachers on us that we were the bad guys. We were fighting for what was right. But they had the Lake Sun at the time to control the narrative. They can't control the narrative now. Obviously, you're all here. Okay, that's you're all here. You got Facebook. You've got other issues. Other ways to communicate. Okay. Yeah, we back early on. Okay, can I address that just a little bit? Okay, there is a lot of pressure we can put on. It needs to stay put on. When we initially fought the math, back when they took all the math books away from our 3rd graders, that first meeting we had, I was a fairly new board member back then. I bet we had twice this many people at Hawthorne. The first meeting. The second meeting, it looked like we were just standing by ourselves. Okay? They did a good job of marginalizing our viewpoint. One, because they could control the narrative. And that's why everybody kind of left. I can tell you one thing, they will try to bully you. They did me. Okay? Well, I'm just saying, they will try their best. Okay? They will threaten you, and they will do everything in the world to make you quiet. So, you're only one.
That's.
Right. So.
Why are you the only one calling? Yeah.
Aren't these meetings closed now
Because of COVID, you
Yes.
cannot go speak.
But now they're on the website. They took it off of Facebook completely. Now it's on the website for the school, which is a little bit better in the sense that people who don't have Facebook are able to watch them. But the question is, are they going to allow comments on there? But that is a violation. They have to allow us to comment. So that's another thing but we'll touch on. We'll see what happens at the next board meeting, which is the 14th. The 14th is the next board.
Everyone show up.
Yeah, you can show up. The worst thing we can sit outside.
I walked in.
Do you know where the admin building is?
Okay, everyone, I went to the last one and just walked in and sat down. They didn't try to leave me out. So they had only a few chairs. So probably only so many. But I think if you can show up. They can probably say, oh, during COVID, we're not encouraging it, but there's no law, and that sheriff is not, sorry guy over here, but he is not doing anything to keep me from out of that building. Okay, sorry, Laura. Here.
That's all right. I just wanted to follow up with John. I'm Laura Martin, and
Hey,
John
Laura,
and I.
what time are the meetings? The board meetings?
I'm sorry.
Are they still-
Usually 5:30. 5:30, and then the early morning ones are. But John and I were Lone Rangers together, and we could first and second each other's votes. But one thing that you need to know is, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name at the end. Kathy was saying, the one role that the board supposedly has is hiring and firing in the administration, the superintendent specifically, but that role has been usurped in the sense that right now what you have going is the superintendents are getting multi-year contracts. So that was one of the things that John and I tried to stop. They essentially have a 3-year contract because every year they're on contract. Come January, they're voting them 2 more years of contract. And so essentially what that means is that you can never get ahead of the superintendent because you're always trying to elect board members, but the superintendents have multiple year contracts, continuing out. So then you have to buy them out. You have to. Right. Prior to Tim Hadfield, our superintendents would say, I don't want multi-year contracts. If I'm not doing the job you want me to do, I will leave. I will gladly step down. So in theory, anything that you do beyond that is called micromanaging. So the fact of the matter is they didn't need to vote on the mask mandate this week because the superintendent could have done that. And the reason that they could do that partly is because they've now designated him the CEO. your board voted to give him the CEO status. So he essentially has unilateral control to do pretty much anything he wants to do. And so, yeah, getting control of the board is number one, but the board has control if they choose to utilize it. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Can the board end his contract ahead of time, just pay him off, and that would eventually maybe cost less heartache and money to the whole district?
But you can, I'm sure there's all kinds of clauses if you read his contract, but yes, in the past, if we had to get rid of an administrator, if they had longer contracts, you paid them out. Sometimes in mid-year, because they were under contract. If we were getting rid of an administrator, usually you came to an agreement that you would just pay them the rest of their contract if they would leave,
But here's my deal with that, and I thought about this.
Here's one other thing, and you guys need to know the devil that's out there. Missouri School Boards Association is the devil for school board members. It is mandated that they go through training, and it's indoctrination camp before they are seated on, they're seated, but they have so long to complete this course. And it is ruled by attorneys and ex-superintendents run the Missouri School Boards Association. Then they will litter their board with other school board members as an umbrella. I think Nancy Masterson's coming up as the president of it, and they will put them on there as tokens. But the ones that actually run it are lobbyists, attorneys, and ex-superintendents. What you sit through is 2 days worth of them telling you to give up your rights because they are the educational expert. You do still have your brain, but they will tell you that, and most of the school board members will say, okay.
You should get 22 years on the board.
So.
Well, and one thing about what John
That's
said,
a little different. Now he's the superintendent, not a board member. Okay, when he got a raise, they voted to raise him.
That was a school board's
everybody
decision.
kind of likes to think that they're all one unit, and that's what the superintendents want you to think, because that's the way they vote usually. The second thing they tell you as a member, you need to be a cohesive board, 7-0 votes in this training, and that you can't speak out because you are on a board, and you cannot speak for the board as one individual. Okay, that's where they really try to get you to be quiet. Right.
What's the point of a board? Right.
Well,
exactly. That's where Missouri School Board, that's what I just told you. That's why Missouri School Boards Association is the devil in education. There are other options out there. There's a Missouri Rural Boards Association that is not like that.
And let me tell you something
Your tax
about-
money pays for the school to be member of Missouri School Boards Association.
And one thing about this, I'll never forget this. This was one of my first big meetings that I went to, because we were wanting to be able to talk to the board, which now they really don't let you talk to them. We used to be able to go in and anybody could talk, and there was a talk time where anybody could talk. Well, all of a sudden there were a lot of people talking, and it was during the Sean Kirksey thing, and so they didn't want us talking. And so I remember they had the Missouri School Board Association attorney come in and give this presentation about why you should not let the people of the community talk. Because the biggest thing they kept saying was that because I might, if I'm in to talk, I may say Jeff Shore's name in a meeting, and Jeff Shore he has rights and he has privacy rights, and I shouldn't be able to discuss him openly in a meeting, and because he's an employee. So they said you should not have comments. You have to go a week in advance. You have to write what you're going to say. Those sort of things is what they recommended. So I remember I was sitting there, and John's just sitting there listening, and he raises his hand. He's like, "Has any district?" Oh, because they kept saying you are opening yourself up to huge liability, and your district is going to get sued. And so, of course, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want my district sued." And so John said, he's been sitting there the whole time. He just raised his hand. He said, "Has any school in the state of Missouri been sued for somebody talking at a school board meeting?" And the lady says, well, no, but we just want to be preventative. And I will never forget that, because I remember thinking, I wasn't that smart to think that question, because I was like, oh my gosh, we don't want to get sued. And he was like, they were planting that on us, and it had never happened. It had never happened. There was no case of it ever happening. So why wouldn't we want to encourage our community to talk to our board?
I just want to say one more thing on the janitor thing. My kid was going to Oak Ridge at the time, probably many people here as well. And I remember that day that the father posted on social media and was so upset because of the way they handled it. I think the son contacted the father potentially. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the school didn't hotline it. They didn't handle it. He had to go get his son and then go to the police, was my understanding.
That's right.
So now you'll see again this controlling the narrative. Well, he's arrested. He handled it. No, nobody. They never handled it. A poor father who I don't even think they go to the district anymore. Is just probably besides themselves. Had to handle it. What if he didn't handle it? What if he didn't handle it that day? If this would have happened again. So they did not do anything. Don't let anyone tell you that anybody did anything at school with this specific case, because they didn't. And that alone should be a cause to get rid of Hadfield and Neal immediately. Immediately.
Okay, and do we have a couple more?
One more question.
One more question.
I just have a statement. If we all don't stick together like they had said previously, nothing will change. So it's going to be long, it's going to be hard, it's going to be ugly. I've been standing outside the school by myself quite a bit, with a couple people here and there, and it's a time problem.
That's because you're a badass.
I don't care what other people think. If you know me, I don't care. But it's not going to change with one person or 10 people or 30 people, and they're going to eat you alive.
They are.
They are going to rip you to shreds, find everything ugly that they can, and they're going to put it out there. And that's okay. I have dirty laundry. You can go find it. Have at it, buddy. I'll be the first one to tell you, and it's okay. My God resaved me, and I'm good to go. So we need to stick together, or nothing will change ever.
Yeah, folks.
All right.
Your children will suffer the repercussions of our actions. And if you think that that's not a thing in our district, you're sadly mistaken. Our children will suffer the repercussions for us being here tonight, posting on social media, and you've got to make it very clear to your children that if anything is said to them or anything like that, they need to let you know, because that's not right.
Exactly. Just one second. There's a couple. Anyway, so real quick, I'm going to tell a quick story that just so you understand what was going on. This was during the Sean Kirksey thing. For people that don't know, he was a principal that was fired, and it was a huge brouhaha. And so I was one of the people that was very strong supporter of Sean, and so I posted frequently. We had a Facebook page, and I posted all the time. Well, there was a Facebook page, and I had put something on the page like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so at about 11:30, a teacher got on their lunch break and read what I put and then liked it. About an hour later, he was called into the principal's office of that building and said, "We saw that you liked that comment on that post. And we want to know you are not allowed to do that, and you certainly aren't allowed to be on social media on our time." And let me be clear, it wasn't the principal that did that. It was Ryan Neal who said something to the principal, who made the principal approach this teacher. And so this teacher said, "Here's the deal. I was on my lunch break, and that's my time. And I was on my phone using my own Wi-Fi, so that's my time. So I'll like whatever post I want to." And they couldn't do anything to him. But it wasn't an hour after he had liked that post that he was called into the office. So do you understand why the teachers... Yeah, of course they are. They're on their time watching what I was doing all the time. They probably still are, for all I know. And by the way, my kids all have their own. My kids have their own laptops at school, and they have their own. I don't even know what the thing is called. Anyway, they get on the computer with their own VPN, And so my kids do not get their Wi-Fi through the school for exactly the reasons that Stacy hasn't. So it is not easy. It takes a little bit of a process, but my kids are smarter than me on that stuff, and they figured it out right away. So they take their own computers, and then they use their own VPNs to get on. So, yeah.
So just a little word to the lady over here that's concerned about repercussions with your child. Many of you don't know me. That's okay. I grew up in the organization called New Tribes. It's just down the road here. And in 2010, I was part of a group of people that gave some feedback to some third-party investigators about child abuse in boarding schools. And it was determined by independent investigators that out of a student body over about 30-year period of 478 students, that 325 of those fit the description of having been abused. So those are all of my friends, and those are people that I grew up with, and I know a lot of their stories. I've known them for a long time. That's just one place out of 18 countries. I still feel very emotional about that, but in 2010, I sat on a board that would give feedback to the organization down in Sanford, Florida, down to New Tribes themselves. And there was a lot of the same conversation. There was concern that children would face repercussions. What I'm hearing about the board and what I'm hearing about the superintendent sounds just like the playbook that New Tribes was running out of. Sounds just like what the Catholic Church was running out of. Sounds just like what ABWE was doing. So what I want to say to you all is that you can't worry about whether your child is going to face some sort of repercussions. You have to be worried about truth and transparency, and you have to stand for truth, because I'm assuming all of you are believers, or most of you. That's the thing that God calls us to, and he tells us to expose the things that are evil and dark, and I think that's the thing that we need to be about, and that's the attitude that we need to take. And it took New Tribes, it took until last year, February, they flew me back down to Sanford, and they related 19 of the names of the abusers. And there are far more than that, but at least we were able to reveal 19 names. So again, truth and transparency is what we need to be about. That needs to be our attitude and our heart. And I think that over time, we'll get that.
Amen. Okay, so real quick, please jump on that Facebook page, the parents and teachers of Camdenton School Districts, so that we can kind of work from there. Also, please, if you have not checked out of the technology agreement, go to school tomorrow morning and check out of the technology agreement if you haven't. Yes, you can. Yep. You have to put it in writing, but you can do it. Yeah.
They may not deny you that. You can also recount that. You have to put it in writing. And personally, I would send a certified letter.
Say that again.
If you're in the technology agreement now and you want out, you just need to put that in writing. I would date it as far as obviously the date of the letter, but also I would put a clause in there. I'm not phrasing it right, Stacy, but there's you need to specifically state that it does not, that it supersedes anything that you've signed prior to that.
Yeah.
So even though you actually date it, you need to follow that with a statement saying, you know, this supersedes the one I signed a week ago or last year or whenever that was. And then if you need time to get a Chromebook of their own, or if you just want to switch to pen and paper, you can absolutely do that. They cannot deny your child an education because you do not want to concede to their technology agreement.
Just like Stacy said.
It's inconvenient, and I would suggest that you have a chat with their teacher. It's very hard on teachers. Teachers are in a really tough position.
They're in a horrible
with
position.
this because it makes their job harder. But unfortunately, that's where the administration has put us. And that
And
doesn't
them.
mean that we need to recount our rights or our choice. It just means have a conversation with your teacher. Let them know, I'm not trying to make this hard on you, but I feel strongly about this. This is the move that we're making. This is a choice that I'm making. And I'm sorry that you're in this position, but I do need pen and paper until further notice.
Yep. You
It
have a
works.
question for me?
Don't we want them out of the Google Classroom as well? Because isn't that where they're collecting the data?
They are collecting the data through the Google Classroom. It just, but with the technology agreement, what you're doing is you're giving the right to the school to give all that information out. But when you don't sign that agreement, then they can't give it out without your actual signature. Does that make sense? Oh, Ali.
Who checks that?
That's a great question, Sean. What? Yeah, I've got a question over there. Ma'am, did you have a question? Okay.
I came specifically to get that question answered because very last minute we took our boys off the technology. We had to call and they had to reopen the documents, so I had to go re-sign. I bought Chromebooks. I was a little flustered, to be quite honest. So I just clarified with Stacy, how do I utilize the Chromebooks, or do I need to get laptops? She said I could use the Chromebooks. Just do not use the school email. So just get a Hotmail account or whatever, and if they can't access it through that, then they don't access it. I've talked to both of my boys' teachers. I said I will come in and make copies. I will do whatever I can to make your life easier because I know I'm making it harder. However, I needed clarity before we could proceed, and now I've got clarity, and now I'm very adamant that they don't get on there. But I will be going in to make copies if the teachers want, because I would prefer my kids do more pen and paper
Me
for
too.
multiple reasons.
Me
So
too.
that's what I just did in the past 48 hours. So if that's helpful.
Hello, I'm Susie Pollock, your state representative for this area. And I just wanted to say the most important thing you can do tonight is make sure you're registered to vote. You can't do anything about school board or anything unless you're registered to vote. So I have voter registration cards if anybody needs one.
Thanks, Susie. That's good thinking. One more question. Oh.
I just wanted to talk about the Facebook group that we started. It started last year when that student got in trouble, couldn't use the restroom, and decided to go
That's
in
right.
the plant.
Right.
And from that point, it just grew. And it's mainly for the parents and teachers, for the teachers to have a safe place to go and vent. And Sherry and I are the admins, and if there's any teachers out there that need to voice their opinion, you can always direct message us, text us, whatever, and we'll bring your concerns out. My name's Matthew Schultz, by the way, if you don't know me. Some people like me, some people don't. That's okay.
What? I don't have that problem at all.
No. And, so feel safe in that page that, if you have something that you want to remain anonymous, feel free. And that goes for parents too, because, a lot of parents are afraid to speak out as well. And I'm not one of them.
What's the page? You want to say the page again?
It's Parents and Teachers of Camdenton R-III School District.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, are you? One little tidbit, and then I'm gonna give you a couple things to do, and then we're gonna head out.
So to circle back around to technology, I just want to give everybody a heads up. If you do choose to go with the pen and paper option, pencil, whatever, nice little number 2. Don't get the cheap brand. Teachers don't like that.
Do you have something for me? I thought you were gonna show me something.
Talk to your kids. Prepare your kids to, unfortunately, one thing that really bothers me personally is to have to put my young child in a position of self-advocacy when
Yeah.
I'm not there
That's the
against someone that they are supposed to respect and obey during the day. But that's where we're at, guys. And so as much as that bothers me, I have to set that aside. So talk to your kids, because here's what happened to us last year. I never signed the technology agreement last year. I talked to the teacher prior to, actually at Meet the Teacher Night, prior to school starting.
Hey, my friendly talkers over there, can you hold on just a second?
Yeah, this
Thank
is
you.
important.
This is important.
I talked to the teacher prior to school starting. I let her know that we were not utilizing Chromebooks and we did not participate in data collection, which meant no standardized testing. She knew from the very beginning. First week of school, she had him sign on to a Chromebook and complete an assignment. So thankfully and luckily, it's shared with me. You know, my child comes home and shares with me. We have a fun chit chat. And what, 3 days later, buddy? 3 days later, she comes and asks him for his ID. Gets his school ID, signs in on a Chromebook, asks the questions to him. He's not on the Chromebook. He didn't sign in. She signed in on his behalf.
Oh, my goodness.
He didn't push the key buttons. She pushed the key buttons for him and answered the questions according to what he was verbally telling her. As you can imagine, this didn't set well. So we went to the principal of Oak Ridge. Heads up, Oak Ridge parents. I was told that she was acting on his authority.
His authority?
And I informed them that my authority as a parent superseded any authority that he wanted to try to bring,
Right.
and that there would be a federal complaint filed if it continued. It stopped immediately.
Yeah.
So talk to your kids.
Yeah,
Talk to your
absolutely.
kids.
And that's one thing that happened. I told you about my kiddo. I had always to talk to my kids, and she knew that those questions were wrong. I also had, when Lily was in 6th grade at Oak Ridge, I did not let my kids take the standardized testing. Because she wouldn't sign her name into the standardized testing, she was given two, and I don't know what they call them now, insubordinates. She was given 2 insubordinates. She was not allowed to go on any field trips, and she was not allowed to do anything because she didn't sign her name in to the standardized testing. They get paid for those, don't they? They get paid. As soon as the name is signed in, they get paid. So that's why they kept saying, the proctor kept saying, just sign your name in. And Lily said, no, you need to sign your name in. No. And so they gave her 2 insubordinations, and she was not allowed to do any sort of field trips. She didn't get to go to Windermere and do all that fun stuff. So. What about iReady? Can we opt out of iReady? Yeah, you can opt out of iReady, but iReady is the one that asked the questions about my kiddo. Yeah.
As far as the janitor thing is concerned, to me, it looks like child endangerment, what they did. I mean, they moved a known predator from building to building progressively with younger people. I think they should be tried criminally. I mean, because look, y'all can sue the school district as much as you want, but it doesn't do anything. Insurance pays for it. It doesn't affect them personally. But if they are charged criminally, they got to pay for it. And I mean, there's a host of laws there that I would think would apply, willful criminal negligence, but definitely child endangerment. The fact that they just kept moving and building to building, and I'm already seeing the cheerleaders saying, wait till the truth comes out. Well, this was actually out like 3 years ago that they did that. It's just nobody really paid a whole lot of attention to it then. But now with this lawsuit and all of the facts being laid out in one place, it is out. So again, you're going to get a lot of what I call shills. They're going to be out there. They're going to say, come on, guys, Laker pride. Get behind the school. Come on.
Oh.
Don't talk about the admins like that.
I got that. I got the whole...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get that every time. They do that on purpose. It's how they make things just go over.
And so I got the whole Laker pride thing, and I got a question is that you need to just wait until all the information comes out. And I said, the information is out. It's in the lawsuit. You just have to read it. It's there. I mean, if you want to know what happened exactly, it's there. But I found out that the person who sent that to me, who was like, you need to wait till is an administrative person in the central office. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just real quick on what she was trying to say is that there are stipends for one. I don't know if you guys see my post. Stipends for professional development. So those people are making money above their salary to go out and learn or to instruct emits and all this stuff, so they really push for it, right? That's almost, and they might not even know a lot. They're just maybe indoctrinated. Yeah. And also there's something called career ladder, where they're paid for doing certain things in the community. And we're pretty sure that you can get points and getting paid for social media advocacy. So when you see people out there like Nathan was saying shills, just wanted to let you know that there might be a little more to it. Sorry.
Okay. So we're gonna wrap up because
One more, sorry.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
I was going to say, School of the Osage had this problem with a teacher not too long ago that had a court case. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago. I had family contacted me. And passing the trash, I think is what they call it. They refer to it. Either the teacher being a predator and they move from school district to school district, or in this case, a janitor, well, within the same school building. But
Right.
there is terms for this, and it happens all over the place. Like that guy was saying there.
Here's the deal. As long as we're fighting against it, it's not going to happen at Camdenton. We're going to work together to make sure that it doesn't happening, because we all have kids, and our job in the end is to protect our kids. It's not the school's job. In the end, we are here to be the demanding people, and we expect the school to do it, but we must demand it. So are we, okay, we're good? Okay, so the things that we need to do is first email the school board, please, about asking them to kindly reconsider their decision to have masks. If you're interested in signing a piece of paper that's over there that's written up for asking for Dr. Neal and Dr. Hadfield to be put on administrative leave based on the information that's came out through the lawsuit, please sign that there. Please keep up on the website, on the page, and we will keep updating it, and we will have more information on there for things to do. And again, my name is Mindy Sales. You guys can send me private messages or friend request me if you have any questions. I'm glad to help. Everybody good? Thank you, guys.